Chapter 487. The strength of alchemists was very low, so exploding pills became their most powerful means to deal with their enemies. And these seventh-order exploding pills were personally refined by the old man guarding the pavilion. How could ordinary exploding pills compare to its power? Zhuge Xiaosheng transferred his body integration stage spiritual energy into the array pattern that Mu Yu had already drawn. The exploding pills were drawn by the array pattern and formed small whirlpools. A terrifying aura was emitted from the whirlpools and then turned into dozens of light spots of various sizes, which were distributed around the Stargate people. There were nearly 100 people from Stargate this time. Among them, there were 2 body integration stage cultivators, 10 spirit severing stage cultivators, 50 out-of-body stage cultivators, and the rest were nascent soul stage cultivators. These people had already killed a lot of people from the Array faction, but now, facing the counterattack of the Array faction, they were no longer in the mood to fight and wanted to leave. But what greeted them were hundreds of light spots of various sizes in the air. What's this? One of the Heavenly Star sect disciples who was at the nascent soul stage looked at the white brilliance in front of him in confusion. He impatiently struck out with his spiritual power to shake off the white brilliance. However, when his spiritual power touched the white brilliance, a powerful killing force suddenly attacked him, instantly turning him and his 20 companions around him into ashes. The power of exploding pills was so terrifying. It's exploding pills. Tian Guanxi was shocked and angry. He had brought more than 100 elites, and he lost 1/5 of them in an instant. How could he bear this? He felt the power of the exploding pills and roared. How could it be a 7th-order exploding pill? He instantly thought of the help of a 7th-order alchemist, but this was impossible. There were only a few 7th-order alchemists in Danding's sect. It was impossible for them to participate in the dispute over the Array talismans. Then the most likely explanation was that the people of Array faction went to Danding's sect to buy 7th-order exploding pills. At this moment, they used an ingenious array to display the power of the exploding pills. That's right, 7th-order exploding pills. This is just the appetizer. Mu didn't care about killing the people of Stargate. He had an undying hatred with Stargate. No matter how many people died, it wouldn't affect his state of mind. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions occurred one after another. The Heavenly Star sect had lost more than half of their members. These explosions couldn't affect Tian Guanxi and Tian Haihua, but they were fatal to the others. Even 3 severed soul experts had been killed by the explosions. 4 Stargate, severed soul stage cultivators were already the elites of the sect. Tian Guanxi and Tian Haihua were very distressed to see 3 of them die at once. At the same time, the members of the Formation faction had captured all the members of the Talisman faction. In the blink of an eye, only the members of the Stargate were left. Led by Zhuge Xiaosheng, the Xiantian Array Masters were all glaring at the people from Stargate. Their eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Tian Guanxi quickly stood up and said, "Sect leader Zhuge, we were deceived by Chang Tianqing today. We are also the victims. I hope sect leader Zhuge can make things convenient for us. In the future, the sect leader of Stargate will personally come to apologize." Tian Guanxi had already brought out the sect leader of Stargate. A sect leader of an 8-gate was a person who could shake the entire continent 3 times with a stomp of his feet. The sect leader's cultivation was very high. Zhuge Xiaosheng couldn't compete with him. Zhuge Xiaosheng also hesitated. If he killed so many people from Stargate here, he was afraid that Stargate wouldn't let him off easily in the future. Even if the Heavenly Emperor comes, I will still kill him. Mu Yu's voice was filled with endless killing intent. All the exploding pills gathered around Tian Guanxi and Tian Haihua. Their faces changed drastically. If all the 7th-grade exploding pills exploded, they would definitely die without a burial place. Zhuge Xiaosheng, you better think carefully about the consequences of killing people from Stargate. Tian Haihua roared. Zhuge Xiaosheng stepped forward and said coldly, "The sect leader of the Formation Charms sect wants to kill you. We will only follow his orders." I want to see how you people from Stargate dare to ask for an explanation so shamelessly. If you want to destroy my sect, you will have to pay the price. Don't think that the Formation Charm sect is so easy to bully. We will never be afraid of people from the other 8 gates. Although the Formation Charm sect wasn't as powerful as Stargate, if they really fell out with Stargate, Stargate would also have to pay a painful price. After all, only the people from the Formation Charm sect could truly resist the Formation Charm sect. Now that all of them had been executed, with the Formation Charm sect's powerful combat strength, ordinary self-cultivators would have to think twice before attacking the Formation Charm sect. Boom! Hundreds of explosive pills exploded. Tian Haihua and Tian Guanxi were instantly drowned in endless fury. They wanted to fight back in shock and anger, but the destructive power of so many explosive pills was too great. In an instant, the 2 of them, who were in the form synthesis stage, were blown to smithereens. Stargate, this is just the beginning. Muyu clenched his fists. His real target wasn't these people from Stargate, but the accomplices of Deadwood Daddy's murder. Heaven wouldn't wait for him. None of the people from Stargate survived Muyu's attack. Half of the people from the Formation Charm sect were captured. Those who didn't want to surrender were all killed. Zhuge Shaoxing didn't show any mercy. The battle between the Formation Charms finally came to an end. All the disciples of the Formation Charm sect cheered for their victory after surviving the disaster. In their eyes, the people from the Formation Charm sect had always been superior to them. At this moment, they had become powerless captives. Everyone's face was filled with endless excitement. Then, most of them began to clean up the battlefield and the destroyed buildings of the Formation Charm sect. Muyu returned to the Formation Hall. Zhuge Shaoxing followed him in with the remaining 17 Xiantian Formation Masters. They had all suffered different degrees of injuries, but their expressions were very solemn at this moment. Everyone tidied up their clothes. Then, under the leadership of Zhuge Shaoxing, all of them suddenly knelt to the ground in front of Muyu, who was in the middle of the 8 trigrams formation chart. They shouted respectfully, "Greetings, Sect Master." Muyu was slightly stunned. Then, he quickly said, "Sect Master, please get up. I can't accept such a big ceremony." He wanted to help Zhuge Shaoxing up, but Zhuge Shaoxing was still stubbornly kneeling on the ground. He said, "The Formation Charm sect used to have 2 sect masters. However, everyone in the Formation Charm sect knew that the one who becomes the true master of the chaotic yin and yang will be the new sect master of the Formation Charm sect. Now that you can control the chaotic yin and yang, all the Formation Charm masters must listen to your orders. Even I'm no exception. Sect Master, my cultivation is too low right now. I'm nothing without the chaotic yin and yang, so I don't want to be the Sect Master. Sect Master, it's better if you take charge of the Formation Charm sect yourself." Muyu shook his head. He liked to live a carefree life. He didn't like to be bound to one place forever. Being a sect master was too restrictive. This wasn't the life he wanted. Moreover, he still had a deep grudge that he had yet to avenge. Although controlling the entire Array sect would give him more confidence in his revenge in the future, the Array Heavenly Tao invited him to help the Array sect avoid this calamity, because they wanted to protect the Array sect. If the Array sect was involved in his revenge, then the Array sect would most likely be destroyed when he faced the Sky Star sect in the future. The Formation Heavenly Tao helped him protect Deadwood Daddy's soul. It also allowed Muyu to learn the true art of formation here. It even allowed him to comprehend the sword formation of the 9 guiding heavenly sword. No matter which one it was enough for Muyu to take the initiative to help. However, dragging the Formation Charm sect into his grudge was definitely not something the Formation Heavenly Tao wanted to see. Zhuge Shaoxing said, "Sect Master, your cultivation will catch up sooner or later. Our Formation Charm sect has been suppressed by the Talisman Charm sect for so long. Now, 2/3 of the Talisman Charm Masters in the Talisman Charm sect are imprisoned by us. Even Chang Tianqing has been captured by us. As long as Sect Master gives the order, we can use the Soul Formation to control these Charm Masters to attack the Talisman Charm sect. We'll take over all their businesses. When that time comes, the Formation Charm sect and the Talisman Charm sect won't dare to disobey. I hope Sect Master will reconsider. The formation Heavenly Tao once told Zhuge Shaosheng that Muyu didn't belong to the formation charm sect. He would leave sooner or later. However, if Muyu became the master of the chaos yin-yang, the formation Heavenly Tao requested Zhuge Shaosheng to find a way to keep Muyu and assist Muyu to bring the formation charm sect to greater heights. He didn't dare to disobey the formation Heavenly Tao's orders. Moreover, the position of formation charm sect master represented supreme authority. It wasn't a position that anyone could take. He would rather die than kneel in front of Chong Tianqing. However, Muyu is different because Muyu is someone recognized by the patriarch. Now that Muyu had obtained the chaos yin-yang, he was qualified to become the formation charm sect master. If Muyu left, the chaos yin-yang would have already recognized him as its master. It wouldn't be able to be taken away from Muyu. This meant that the formation charm sect would lose a chance to rise up. If Muyu could lead the formation charm sect to become as strong as the formation charm sect, Zhuge Shaosheng would be willing to listen to Muyu's orders. Muyu still shook his head. He waved his hand, and the formation hall brought up a majestic chaos chi that swept everyone up, preventing them from kneeling. I don't like to participate in the battle between formation charms. In the future, the formation charm sect will still need you to lead it. I just hope that there won't be any more spies that your patriarch doesn't know about. Muyu said. Zhuge Shaosheng's face was full of shame. He had indeed failed in this aspect. It was also because of this that people from the Talisman Charm sect were able to sneak in. If it wasn't for Muyu's help, the formation charm sect would have been destroyed. Zhuge Shaosheng sighed and said, "Let's put aside the matter of the sect master for now. Now, we should decide how to deal with the traitor. Lu Dai, do you plead guilty?" Zhuge Shaosheng's solemn gaze landed on Master Lu. He already knew that Master Lu was the real traitor. Master Lu's face flushed red. With a bang, he knelt in front of Zhuge Shaosheng and prostrated his head on the ground. He said in shame, "Sect Master, I plead guilty." Zhuge Shaosheng said sternly, "Lu Dai, you colluded with the traitor and caused the formation charm sect to suffer heavy losses. You even almost destroyed it. You have committed a capital crime. According to the rules of the formation charm sect, this crime is unforgivable. Sitian Tian, you carry out the sect rules." Sitian Tian stood out hesitantly. He glanced at Muyu and then at Master Lu before he said, "Sect Master, Lu Dai didn't do it on purpose. Moreover, he helped us take down the Talisman Grandmaster at the last moment. Do you think we should be lenient with him?" Although Sitian Tian didn't get along with Master Lu, they had actually quarreled all their lives. If he was suddenly asked to punish Master Lu, he wouldn't be able to do it. Zhuge Shaosheng snorted and said, "Help? We relied on Feng Mu alone at the last moment. Even if we didn't use him, our formation charm sect could have taken down the Talisman Grandmaster. Such a person who deceived his master and destroyed his ancestors isn't worthy of living in this world. He must be executed on the spot as a warning to others." Master Lu's face was filled with determination. He kowtowed deeply to Zhuge Shaosheng again and said sternly, "Sitian Tian, there's no need to plead on my behalf. My crime is unforgivable, and I don't have the face to live in this world. Today's matter was caused by me. I'm a sinner of the formation charm sect, and I'll be executed. There's also no need for you to take action. I'll end it myself." Master Lu's face revealed a trace of relief. He had been loyal and devoted to the formation charm sect all his life. It was just that he didn't expect that he would instead become the person who nearly destroyed the formation charm sect. If not for Muyu already seeing through everything long ago, then today would really point to disaster. He knew that his sins were grave and brazenly decided to atone for his crimes with death. Immediately, without any hesitation, blue formation patterns surfaced in his hand, and he smacked a palm down toward his own head, but a hand suddenly grabbed Master Lu, pulling him back from the gate of hell. "Sect Master, can't you spare Master Lu?" Muyu frowned. Master Lu was a very kind senior who had given Muyu a lot of help. Muyu did not want to see him die like this. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Liu Dai should be executed for deceiving his master and destroying his ancestors. Otherwise, how can he convince the masses? I'm a sect master. I must enforce the law impartially, Zhuge Xiaosheng said solemnly. Mu Yu sighed and shook his head. Sect master, then how can you bypass Master Liu? Zhuge Xiaosheng's face revealed a trace of a smile. That depends on whether you're willing to spare Liu Dai's life. After saying that, he glared fiercely at Master Liu. Zhuge Xiaosheng's implication was that only when Mu Yu became the sect master of the Formation Charm sect would he have the qualifications to overrule Zhuge Xiaosheng's order to kill and save Master Liu. In fact, there were very few Khanate Formation Masters in the Formation Charm sect. Now that they had lost two, how could Zhuge Xiaosheng bear to kill Master Liu? Although Master Liu had colluded with outsiders, he had done so without knowing it. With his understanding of Master Liu, he naturally knew that Master Liu would not take the initiative to surrender to the Formation Charm sect. The reason why he did so was because Mu Yu and Master Liu had the best relationship. He knew that Mu Yu would definitely not watch Master Liu commit suicide as an apology. Sect Master Yu. Master Liu's face was full of astonishment. He had only just realized Zhuge Xiaosheng's intention. He hurriedly kowtowed to Mu Yu and said, Feng Mu, quickly save me. I don't want to die. Mu Yu felt a burst of laughter in his heart. This Master Liu was really an honest guy. At first, he wanted to die, but in the blink of an eye, he was begging for mercy. He pulled Master Liu up and said, All right, my beloved Master Liu, there's no need to pretend. Live well. Anyway, I already have enough identities. I don't need to be a sect master. Master Liu also smiled and said, Thank you, sect master. The 8 trigrams formation chart had disappeared. Mu Yu already had the mark of chaos, yin, and yang on his body. He could control everything in the formation charm sect with a single thought. At this moment, he was sitting in the formation hall where Zhuge Xiaosheng usually sat, overlooking everyone. Greetings, sect master. With Zhuge Xiaosheng as the leader, the 17 masters uniformly knelt down and saluted. Little Shuai poked his head out and blinked. He said, Can I ask you to rise this time? Chapter 488. Although Mu Yu had become the sect master of the Formation Talisman sect, he was only as powerful as an array master and a talisman master. Outside of the Formation Talisman sect, no one was afraid of his aura. Without the help of the Formation Hall, he could not exert the strength of the chaotic yin and yang. Therefore, the top priority was to improve his cultivation. He now had the chaotic yin and yang, but he still could not break the 9th heaven's demon sealing formation in his body. The formation used the balance of the 5 elements to suppress the power of Yu Ming in Mu Yu's body. The chaotic yin and yang, which was known to control all spells in the world, could not do anything to this formation. In fact, there were still many formations in the world that the chaotic yin and yang could not break. In addition to the 9th heaven's demon sealing formation, there were also some very special formations like the immortal confinement prison, the flowing water at the fingertip, the blood protection sky, and so on. Mu Yu had become the sect master of the Formation Talisman sect, but he still handed over everything to Zhuge Xiaosheng. He was just a figurehead. Before his cultivation improved, the Formation Talisman sect had to rely on Zhuge Xiaosheng to grow stronger. Zhuge Xiaosheng was swift and decisive. He took Chang Tiansheng to the Talisman sect and killed him in front of everyone. The people of the Talisman sect trembled in fear when they saw that their sect master had died in the hands of Zhuge Xiaosheng. They immediately understood that the situation was hopeless. Except for some who would rather die than submit, the rest of the Talisman Masters surrendered and chose to join the Formation Talisman sect. It was worth mentioning that Master Liu did not kill Zhou Jinglin. Instead, he used his own methods to control Zhou Jinglin. He used the God-destroying talisman and the Divine Soul Formation to control Zhou Jinglin. Behave yourself. Damn it. You must have forced me to do many humiliating things when you controlled me. I have to get back at you. If I see that the toilet is not clean, I will let you lick it clean. Master Liu ordered Zhou Jinglin to clean the toilet with a murderous look. Zhou Jinglin was about to explode. He was a dignified, innate talisman master, yet he had to do such a mundane thing. It was really unreasonable. However, he was afraid of death and did not have the determination to resist. In addition, he could not resist the divine soul formation. Heaven and earth can be my witness. I really didn't ask you to do anything disgraceful. Zhou Jinglin wanted to cry, but had no tears. You better not. Otherwise, I'll make you jump into the latrine to take a bath. If you don't want to die, then work hard for me. Master Lu directly kicked Zhou Jinglin. Master Lu, you seem to be in a leisurely and elegant mood. Isn't it better to kill this kind of person? Muyu held back his laughter. Master Lu glared at Zhou Jinglin and sent Zhou Jinglin away. His face revealed a trace of pride as he said, Headmaster, you don't know this, but Zhou Jinglin has robbed many of our Array faction's properties. Once the Array faction's vitality is restored, I will bring him to take back those properties, so I spared his dog life. Moreover, this person is indeed not bad. If we want to bring the Array sect to the level of the Array glyph sect in the future, we will need some suitable people. Zhou Jinglin has a good personal relationship with many sects. We will need him. Well, it's up to you. Also, don't call me headmaster for now. When I have a certain level of cultivation in the future and can take on the heavy responsibility of being the headmaster, then you can call me headmaster. Muyu shrugged. He didn't like this title. Master Lu nodded. All right then. Feng Mu, why did you come to find me? I'm here to say goodbye. I'm leaving the Array faction. Muyu said. Now that Muyu had mastered the supreme array techniques of the Array Heavenly Tao and helped the Array faction survive the disaster, he wanted to leave the Array faction and continue to explore the cultivation world. Where are you going? No. You're the future headmaster. What if something happens? Master Lu didn't want to see Muyu leave the Array faction alone. Now, Muyu was the future hope of the Array faction. If the Array faction wanted to develop into the Array glyph sect, nothing could happen to Muyu. I'm not a child. What problem can there be? I think staying here is the big problem. All of you are so respectful to me. Without a sense of crisis, I will become dull sooner or later. Muyu said helplessly. Although all the masters in the Array faction were respectful to him, the more they were respectful, the more comfortable his life would be. His enemies were not waiting for him. If he chose to live a comfortable life, then he would never be able to succeed in his revenge. If he wanted to become stronger, then he could only leave the Array faction and continue to explore the cultivation world. Master Lu knew that what Muyu said was right, but he was still not at ease. He said, How about I go out with you? I can be your servant, coachman, follower. How can the headmaster not have these people by his side? Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Master Lu. He was also moved. Master Lu, if you become a follower, wouldn't it make me, the headmaster, look short-sighted and wrong to talent? You should take care of the Array faction's business for me and improve the overall quality of the disciples. In the future, if I come back and find that the Array faction is still as lax as before and there are all kinds of parasites, I will definitely not forgive you. Master Lu said solemnly, Headmaster, don't worry. Lu Dei will not disappoint you. To be honest, Master Lu was a straightforward senior. Muyu also respected him. He felt that there were some things that he shouldn't hide from him. So he said, Master Lu, actually my name is not Feng Mu. My real name is Muyu. Muyu? Why is your name the same as Jian Ing Chun Feng's disciple? Master Lu stroked his beard. Then, as if he had thought of something, he cried out, Wait. You don't tell me you're really that. You're talking about that Muyu who's unparalleled in history. Muyu didn't blush at all when he said these words. That's right, I'm him. Master Lu sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at Muyu in disbelief. You're a true God's disciple. Yes, I came to the Array faction to help Senior Array Heavenly Tao. Back then, my master had some friendship with Senior Array Heavenly Tao, so I could only choose to help the Array faction get through this difficult time, Muyu said with a smile. Master Lu was already stunned. He stared blankly at Muyu, speechless for a long time. It wasn't until Muyu swayed in front of his eyes that Master Lu came back to his senses and said, Then, Does the headmaster know? Both the headmaster and senior array heavenly down know. In short, keep it a secret from me. Muyu patted Master Lu's shoulder. During his days in the array faction, Master Lu had always taken care of him. This honest and cute senior, Muyu respected him from the bottom of his heart. After leaving Master Lu's residence, Muyu slowly walked towards the array faction's mountain gate. However, there was a figure who had been waiting for a long time. It was once a sentimental young man, but now the melancholy between his brows had dissipated. Mu Qinghong looked at Muyu, his clear eyes still so pure. Then he smiled and said, "You told me you didn't go to see the third array tablet. You didn't tell me directly that you've already made your choice, right?" Muyu shrugged. He had lied that day. In fact, he had gone to the third array tablet and broken it, and discovered some truth. One thing that no one knew was that the test of the third array tablet was a spar with an array faction Xiantian disciple. There is only one Xiantian disciple in the array faction, Mu Chenghong. Therefore, if a Zhongtian disciple wanted to become a Xiantian disciple, he had to fight with Mu Chenghong. Mu Chenghong had engraved one of his spiritual imprints into the array steel. He had also hidden a clue that only he and Muyu knew about. Mu Chenghong had once said that he wanted to keep the best side of the array faction in his memory forever. At that time, Muyu had always thought that Mu Chenghong's intention was to destroy the array faction. Because if the array faction was destroyed, then the beauty of the array faction would forever remain in their memory. But Mu Chenghong's actual intention was to die to protect the array faction. If he died before the array faction was destroyed, then the best side of the array faction would forever remain in his memory. That night, Muyu went to the third array tablet. In the array tablet, Mu Chenghong's spiritual imprint told Muyu that Sita Tian was not a spy. But even Mu Chenghong didn't know who the real spy was. Mu Chenghong and Sita Tian had always suspected Master Lu, but they didn't have any evidence. It was also that night that Muyu was wary of Master Lu and beat him at his own game, and played the people of the Talisman faction in circles. Mu Chenghong was indeed an array Dao genius, and the way he left behind the clues was very clever. Only people who were willing to protect the array faction like him could decipher it. At that time, Mu Chenghong's heart was tormented because he didn't know which side he should stand on, so he didn't choose to tell Muyu the truth directly. Moreover, with the relationship between Muyu and Master Lu, and Muyu's outstanding talent when he just arrived, he originally thought that Muyu was a spy from the Talisman faction like him. Mu Chenghong smiled at Muyu. His smile was very bright, and his usual lonely expression had long disappeared. "Junior brother, how important do you think a person's choice is? Between his identity and his home, he had made his choice. His choice was right. Although he had done many wrong things, he had already sided with the array faction before the people of the Talisman faction had shed all pretense of cordiality. Now, he had been forgiven by all the masters of the array faction and was officially a Khanate disciple of the array faction." Muyu smiled and said, "Someone once taught me that I should do things based on my heart. If I can live up to my heart, then do it. If I can't live up to my heart, then don't do it." Mu Chenghong looked at the clear sky with leisurely clouds. He couldn't help but praise, "That person is really wise. Protect the array faction you like well. It's time for me to leave." Muyu also looked at the sky. The clouds were floating in the blue sky. There were no worldly worries, and he was very relaxed and comfortable. He really wanted to be a cloud and float in the wind. There was no deception and no worldly disputes. He wanted to quarrel with the people he liked and do what he liked. It was just like when he was at Luochen Mountain. It was peaceful and quiet. He cultivated during the day and listened to his master tell him stories at night. At the same time, he secretly complained about how bad Anshu's dishes were. That was a pure land in his heart. However, he could no longer return to that place. Life couldn't go according to his wishes. There were some things that he had to face and couldn't escape from. "Fengmu isn't your real name, right?" Mu Chenghong asked. He vaguely knew something. "My name is Muyu." Muyu's figure gradually disappeared in the sky like a floating cloud. He couldn't really be a floating cloud, but he could make himself look like a floating cloud. "Muyu, is he really the disciple of a true god?" Mu Qinghong looked at Mu Yu's figure disappearing and smiled. Then he slowly walked to the highest peak of the Array faction. He often liked to come here alone to look at the Array faction and take in all the beautiful things of the Array faction. He happily opened his arms, wanting to embrace the entire Array faction. Chapter 489. Clearwater City was a huge city that stretched for thousands of miles. It stood quietly in the northwest of the third continent like a crouching dragon. Clearwater City used to be an average city in the cultivation world. Although there were many cultivators here, they were not as prosperous as Mist Breath City and the 50-Mile Garden in the south. However, Clearwater City's reputation had spread throughout the third continent in the past few months. There was no other reason other than the fact that a pinnacle immortal had appeared in Clearwater City. The appearance of a pinnacle immortal would not cause a city to become famous throughout the continent unless this pinnacle immortal was extraordinary. This pinnacle immortal was called Sikong Chiwen. He came from a Sikong family, which was quite powerful in Clearwater City. Sikong Chiwen became the topic of conversation among many cultivators after tea. He was famous because this young man was not even on the third ranking when it was released. He seemed to have appeared out of thin air in the past few months. He was like an unstoppable dark horse. Until now, he had only challenged 21 pinnacle immortals and had not lost a single battle. Just like that, he stepped on the corpses of 21 talented pinnacle immortals and became the 51st pinnacle immortal. There would never be a shortage of pinnacle immortals on the supreme immortal ranking. When one died, another would take his place. Sikong Chiwen was like an inspirational role model. He had grown from an unknown disciple of a small family to the point where he could compete with the pinnacle immortals of many large sections. The number of pinnacle immortals who had been defeated by him was a shocking 21. There was no lack of pinnacle immortals from the 8th sex among them. His appearance overshadowed the geniuses on the supreme immortal ranking. Most of the pinnacle immortals who had been defeated by him were either severely injured or dead. Many geniuses from large sects had died at his hands. Those sects gritted their teeth in hatred. However, because the pinnacle immortals were protected by the supreme immortal ranking, even the 8th sex did not dare to attack him personally. Sikong Chiwen was now the 51st pinnacle immortal. This ranking originally belonged to Mu Kong from the Solitary Fiend sect. However, Mu Kong had been killed by him. This person was infamous. He had long overshadowed many disciples with extraordinary potential, including the disciple of the third continent's true god, Mu Yu. Recently, Sikong Chiwen had been pushed to the center of attention again because he was going to challenge the young master of Stargate, the 50th ranked Tianbu Wait. Heaven is Not Waiting was a very dazzling star at Stargate. His initial ranking was only 55th, but after the release of the triple ranking for nearly a year, his ranking had successfully squeezed into the top 50. Every self-cultivator knew that the 50th place on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard was a watershed. The Supreme Immortals below the 50th place would change frequently, but the Supreme Immortals below the 50th place were true geniuses and rarely changed. It could be said that only by squeezing into the top 50 could one be considered to have come into contact with the strength of a younger generation of the three continents. Everyone in the top 50 was at least in the Severed Soul stage. Thinking about it, stepping into the Severed Soul stage before the age of 40, what a terrifying talent. Sikong Chiwen challenged the young sect master of Stargate, Tian Bulai, to a battle in Clearwater City 2 months later. A battle to the death to determine the ranking. As the young sect master of Stargate, Tian Bulai was the future sect master candidate, so there was no way he could refuse. Therefore, this battle was enthusiastically discussed by self-cultivators and almost spread throughout the three continents. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Should we join the fun? Xiao Shui chewed on a chicken drumstick, making a crunching sound. Mu Yu's eyebrows flashed with a dark aura, and he said, "Of course, why not? But I don't need others to kill Tian Bulai for me. I will personally cut off Tian Bulai's head and feed it to the dogs." Deadwood Daddy's death was an indelible pain in Mu Yu's heart. He couldn't wait to tear Tion Bulai into pieces. But now, Tion Bulai's strength was getting stronger, and he was already in the top 50 of the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. His cultivation was even stronger than before, and Muyu was still at the 9th heaven of the out-of-body stage. He was much weaker than Tion Bulai, but Muyu was no longer the same as before. He had comprehended the sword formation of the sky, sword 9 guides, and he had also inherited the supreme battle formation technique of the heavenly array Dao. His strength could no longer be judged by the standards of self-cultivators. Everyone knew that talisman masters and array masters were relatively powerful among self-cultivators, but their weakness was also very obvious. If they couldn't defeat their opponent in a short period of time, they would definitely suffer a fierce counterattack. However, Muyu was now a powerful array master. With the chaotic yin and yang array, he basically didn't have the flaw of exhausting his array base. He was also a top swordsman. It could be said that he couldn't find any opponent in the out-of-body stage. There was only one reason for going to Clearwater City. He knew that in 2 months, Tion Bulai would definitely come here. That would be the time for Muyu to take his revenge. Muyu didn't have a limit mark on him now. He had the chaos of yin and yang, which was the origin of spells, so the supreme immortal mark couldn't stay on him. At this moment, his ranking on the supreme immortal leaderboard had stopped at the 81st place, and it hadn't changed for a long time. Many people were actually paying attention to Muyu's performance, hoping that he could enter the top 50. After all, he was the disciple of a true god, and he couldn't bring disgrace to the true god's name. Unfortunately, he had disappeared from the 3 continents for more than half a year. No one could find him, and he hadn't fought anyone, which disappointed many people who had high hopes for him. Now, Ling Zheng was still the 67th Extreme Immortal on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. No one knew that Ling Zheng had been killed by Muyu. Because the Extreme Immortal mark had been destroyed by the Forbidden Technique domain, the mark didn't fly back to the Supreme Immortal tablet. Ling Zheng and Muyu's rankings couldn't change. Ling Zheng's death was suppressed by the Array faction, which was what Muyu had asked Zhuge Shaosheng to do. After leaving the Array faction, Muyu returned to the Moyun mountain range. However, the Moyun mountain range was still restricted by the Immortal Confinement Prison, so he couldn't enter. However, this also meant that the Guardian of the 3 Palaces, by Jia, hadn't done anything to Jianing and Qinfeng. This made Muyu temporarily relieved. Muyu had been worried about this. Now that Deadwood Daddy and Array Tiandao were dead, this meant that half of the Immortal Confinement Prison was in Bai Jie's hands. Once Bai Jie took over the majority of the Immortal Confinement Prison, Feng Haochen would be in danger. Muyu couldn't stop all this, so he could only do what he could. The first step was to go to Clearwater City and kill Tion Bue. Clearwater City was located in the Gobi Desert. There were desolate rocks and soil everywhere, and the climate was dry. Occasionally, there would be 1 or 2 poplar trees that stubbornly took root and grew upwards. There were very few people along the way, and they couldn't see the end of the desert. Only the scarlet Gobi Desert stood there strangely. They had only been in the desert for a few hours, but they already encountered a problem. Muyu, are you lost again? The dragon vine unhappily crawled out of Muyu's arm. The weather was too hot, and it wasn't comfortable staying in there. Muyu had already used his spiritual energy to block the heat, but he was still sweating profusely. How was that possible? I'm an expert at finding my way, and my sense of direction is shockingly good, Muyu said confidently, and then landed on a piece of Gobi Desert. He raised his head and gestured at the position of the sun, then looked around. There was only a yellow desert all around, and it didn't seem to be any different. So where do we go next? The dragon vine swung its tail and asked. According to my past experience, it should be the east. When I followed the sun this morning, I realized that the sun's rays were slanted towards the northwest, and now the shadow under our feet is slanted towards the northeast. According to my rough estimation, 8 hours and 45 minutes have passed. According to my flying speed and the resistance of the desert, minus the wind resistance caused by the strong winds in the desert, plus the volume of the sand. Muyu began to explain his way of finding the way seriously. We're lost. Little Shuai interrupted Muyu cleanly. Muyu spread his hands helplessly. Nonsense with such a straight face. I almost believed you. The dragon vine yawned. It also hated hot weather. Who would have thought that this damned city was going to be built in the desert? And it was even called Clearwater City. What was the difference between finding water in the desert and finding a needle in a haystack? Since there's no one around, hurry up and get lousy sword to make a summer fir. We'll hide in the summer fir and hurry on our way. Little Handsome stuck out his tongue and exhaled. He plucked a small leaf from the wood spirit and kept fanning it. The summer fir was a kind of tree that relied on hot air to grow. People in the desert liked to make small houses out of summer fir to block the heat from the outside world. In the small house made of summer fir, it was warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It was very comfortable. What if a self-cultivator jumps out later and sees a piece of summer fir flying in the air and misunderstands it as Mu Yumong of the Demon Clan? Muyu didn't want to casually reveal his ability. Then we're going to die from the heat. There's a lotus leaf on top of Little Shuai's head, but it had already withered. All right, then I'll make a stealth array. With a thought, Muyu's chaotic yin and yang immediately emitted a wave, enveloping them and making them disappear in midair. At the same time, Muyu also went into the summer fir that Mu Ling had transformed into. However, this was secondary. The most important thing now was to find the way to Clearwater City. After flying for half a day, they still couldn't see the bottom of the road. A person with no sense of direction, a foodie, and an idle dragon were fumbling around in the desert like headless flies. This unreliable combination was simply fatal. Look, there's humpback demonic beast feces in front. Muyu shouted excitedly. Are you stupid from the heat? Why are you so happy to see a pile of feces? Little Shuai was very unhappy along the way. Because the weather was too hot, a lot of food had gone bad. Muyu flicked Little Shuai's head and said, What do you know? It's said that the ordinary citizens of Clearwater City rely on humpback demonic beasts to travel long distances out of this desert. These demonic beasts have amazing endurance and are extremely fast. They're the main transportation force in the desert. If there's humpback demonic beast feces here that hasn't been covered by the yellow sand, it means that someone passed by not long ago. If we follow the feces, we'll definitely find them. Muyu landed and kept the summer fir and the stealth array. After carefully examining the humpback demonic beast feces, he stepped on his flying sword and flew in the direction of the feces. Oh my God, what a delightful journey to find feces, Little Shuai said in disgust. Shut up. If you speak again, I'll leave you here. Muyu also felt that the feces were disgusting. However, at this moment, they were like lost lambs. They could only shamelessly rely on the feces to save their sense of direction. They were very fast. After flying for an hour, they finally vaguely saw a group of carriages in front of them. Muyu's eyes lit up as he shouted, See, I knew we'd be able to find them like this. I'm really a genius. Is a little expert in finding feces considered a genius? Little Shuai pouted. Will sarcasm cool you down? Chapter 490. This was a transport caravan. There were 20 camel beasts pulling all kinds of goods. The people in the caravan were all ordinary people with low cultivation levels. There were about 40 of them. Everyone was on a huge wooden carriage with a canopy. The weather was too hot, and it was a huge challenge for these ordinary people. Qing Shui Cliff is right in front. Everyone, be alert. We can rest there for a while. A burly man in the caravan shouted. The hot weather made people feel tired and lazy. If they encountered any danger, they wouldn't be able to react in time. All the men in the caravan were topless, revealing their tanned muscles. When they heard the leader's words, they immediately sobered up. However, at this moment, a figure blocked the path in front of the caravan. His sudden appearance caused the leader to become nervous, and the entire convoy stopped as well. It wasn't a good thing for a stranger to block a caravan in the middle of a barren desert. The person blocking the caravan was naturally Muyu. All the caravans in the desert were headed for Qingshui City. He needed to find someone to find out about the situation in Qingshui City. If possible, he wanted to follow the caravan so that he wouldn't have to wander around the desert like a headless fly. When the leader saw that it was a skinny young man, he didn't relax. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "Friend, this is the caravan from the Mu family in Qingshui City. What business do you have with us?" Mu family? Mu shrugged. He recalled that his surname was also Mu. He smiled and said, "Uncle, I don't have any other intentions. It's just that I want to go to Qingshui City, but I'm lost. Can you give me a ride?" The leader could barely be considered a cultivator. His cultivation level was only at the Qi cultivation stage. He couldn't see through Mu Yu's cultivation level. He also couldn't understand why such a young man would appear in the desert. Although there were many cultivators in Qingshui City, they usually travel by air. Very few cultivators would travel on foot in the desert. The leader was in a difficult position. He couldn't let his guard down just because the other party was young. He couldn't agree to the other party's request so easily. If he wasn't careful in the cultivation world, it would be hard to survive. "Alai, what's going on?" At this moment, a middle-aged man with a steady aura jumped down from the carriage behind them. This middle-aged man had a dignified appearance and was different from the others. He was dressed in a luxurious green robe, looking fresh and elegant. His cultivation was much higher than that of the leader. He was a cultivator from the Jindan period. "Boss," a young man from an unknown place, said that he's lost and wants to go with us. "Boss, what do you think?" Alai turned around and said respectfully. The scholarly middle-aged man furrowed his brows and walked up to Mu Yu. He sized up Mu Yu and smiled. "Little friend, I am Mu Rongshuan, a member of Clearwater City's Mu clan. Are you going to Clearwater City as well?" Mu Yu grinned and said, "Yes, I have a bad sense of direction and got lost. I wonder if Uncle could point me in the right direction or let me follow Uncle's convoy to Clearwater City." Mu Rongshuan looked at Mu Yu's pure smile. It did not seem like he was lying. His vigilance lessened slightly as he said, "So that's how it is. Little friend, this must be your first time coming to Clearwater City. Usually, people who come to Clearwater City for the first time need someone to guide them. Otherwise, it's easy to get lost. Since we're going the same way, why don't you follow me?" Mu Rongshuan saw that Mu Yu was only at the foundation establishment stage and was not old. He was relieved and let Mu Yu get on his carriage. This carriage was made of summer fur. It was very spacious and could fit 5 to 6 people without a problem. At this moment, there was a boy and a girl inside. They looked to be around 13 or 14 years old. The young man had a tired expression and was very quiet. Seeing Mu Yu get into the carriage, he looked at Mu Rongshuan suspiciously. Then his body involuntarily moved inwards, faintly protecting a girl behind him. This girl had a lively appearance and looked similar to the young man. She was curiously sizing up Mu Yu. Mu Yu greeted them politely, but the young man did not reply. He only asked with a displeased expression, "Father, why did you let a stranger into our carriage?" Mu Rongshuan gave the young man a look, indicating that he should not speak. Then he smiled at Mu Yu and said, "Little friend, this is my son and daughter, Mu Hao and Mu Exen. I still don't know how to address you. My name is Feng Mu." Mu Yu felt that it was fate to meet someone with the same surname as him. After all, there are not many people with the surname Mu. However, the name Mu Yu was too famous in the 3 continents. He still wanted to keep a low profile. "Hello, Brother Feng Mu." Mu Exen, who was behind him, said with a smile. She was not shy at all. However, Mu Hao looked at Mu Exen with dissatisfaction and said, "Little Exen, don't always be so enthusiastic when you meet a stranger. We still don't know where this guy came from." Mu Hao was quite hurt by his unguarded sister. Unlike Mu Exen, he was deeply wary of Mu Yu. Looking at his sitting posture, it was obvious that he was protecting his sister in the safest position behind him. He was afraid that Mu Yu would suddenly make a move or something. Mu Rongshuan invited Mu Yu into his carriage. This was a caravan. He did not know if Mu Yu was really lost or if he was faking it. However, the highest cultivation of the other entourage was only at the Qi refining stage. Mu Yu was at the foundation establishment stage. Therefore, he had to personally keep an eye on him to prevent Mu Yu from having any bad intentions. Mu Yu asked curiously, "Uncle, you just said that your surname is Mu. Is it the Mu of trees?" Without waiting for Mu Rongshuan to answer, Mu Hao suddenly said, What moo of trees? Let me tell you, it's Mu Yu's moo. You didn't hear wrong. It's the true God's disciple, Mu Yu's moo. Mu Hao was quite proud when he said this. Mu Yu opened his mouth and felt that it was funny. Wasn't he the true God's disciple? His surname had become the object of this brat's bragging. It was a strange feeling. From your tone, you seem to be very proud. Mu Yu looked at Mu Hao, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Nonsense. That's the true God's disciple, the object of my admiration. It's much better than your ridiculous surname, Mu Hao said with joy. However, Mu Rongshuan interrupted Mu Hao. Little Hao, don't talk nonsense. Mu Rongshuan scolded. Mu Hao unwillingly turned his face away and did not make sound. Mu Yu shrugged his shoulders indifferently. He was a little proud in his heart. It turned out that he still had a silly little fan in the cultivation world. This was not bad. He saw Mu Xian's naive look and smiled. Hello, little sister Xiao Xian. Oomph. Mu Hao snorted lightly. He was very dissatisfied with Mu Yu's greeting of his sister. His cultivation was also at the foundation establishment stage. Reaching the foundation establishment stage at the age of 13 was actually not bad. After all, not everyone in the 3 continents was a cultivation genius. When Mu Yu was at his age, he was also only at the foundation establishment stage. Big brother Feng Mu, where are you from? Why are you here? Mu Xian blinked her big eyes and asked. Mu Yu said embarrassedly, I'm from Lanxi City. I originally came to Qingshui City to look for someone, but I couldn't find the way. I just happened to see your convoy, so I took the liberty to stop you. So big brother Feng Mu's sense of direction is not good. Mu Xian giggled. Yes, I don't have a sense of direction. Mu Yu patted his head. As a person with no sense of direction, this was not the first time he got lost. When he was at the second heaven, he was also wandering around. However, at that time, he at least had a slightly detailed map. But in the desert, there was only yellow sand as far as the eye could see. Without the experience of walking in the desert, even if Mu Yu had a map, it was useless. Since he can't find the way, Father, why don't you just give him a map and let him find it himself? Mu Hao looked at his father and said. He did not welcome Mu Yu's arrival at all. Little Hao, you're not allowed to be rude to the guests. Mu Rongshuan reprimanded. Then he smiled at Mu Yu and said, Little friend Feng Mu, please forgive me. My son's words are too serious. Meeting is fate. It's also good to make friends. Mu Rongshuan's thoughts were not as simple as Mu Hao's. For some reason, he felt that the young man in front of him was not simple. Although he only had the aura of a foundation establishment stage, he was experienced and knowledgeable. It was very rare for a young man to wander around in the desert. He thought of giving Mu Yu a map and sending him off, but seeing that Mu Yu was only 18 or 19 years old and was very polite, he should not be a bad person. Therefore, he decided to let him stay. Uncle Mu is too polite. To be honest, I already had a map before entering the desert, but I still got lost. Mu Yu said awkwardly. Then, he raised his eyebrows at Mu Hao and said, But I won't care about the words of a child. Who are you calling child? I'm 13 years old this year. I could be independent long ago. Mu Hao's temper flared up. Mu Yu's words were like stepping on his tail. He had always been a very strong-willed person. He didn't like others calling him a child. Oh, then what should I call you? Big child? Mu Yu felt that this guy was quite interesting. He liked to pretend to be mature at such a young age. He could not help but be playful and deliberately said, You better show some respect. Mu Hao said in a flustered and exasperated manner. Then, he turned to Mu Rongshuan and said, Father, this person is so arrogant. You just casually brought him here. What if he has evil intentions? We must chase him out of the car. Mu Rongshuan scolded. All right, little Hao, didn't I tell you? Outside, it's better to have one more friend than one more enemy. How is your personality like an adult? That's right. When I grow up, I want to be a child again. Why does a brat like you want to be an adult? You really don't know how lucky you are. When Mu Yu was young, he always fantasized about growing up quickly. However, when he grew up, he encountered many messy and troublesome matters. He had to face everything by himself. There was no way to escape. He could only grit his teeth and walk on. Sometimes he would think that he might as well not grow up. How good would it be to be like a child, forever carefree? However, This thought was just a random thought. People had to learn to be independent in the end. Many times, they could only rely on themselves. There were countless people riding on top of his head. If he did not work hard, he would only be stepped on by the people he hated. If he wanted to continue walking in the cultivation world, he had to be strong and face everything. As one grew older, many emotions would trouble everyone. Love, and hatred, it was unavoidable. Mu Rongxuan smiled knowingly. Looking at Mu Yu, he realized that this young man's words were quite honest. His wariness towards Mu Yu decreased by a bit. Mu Hao angrily glared at Mu Yu. He snorted heavily and did not speak. "All right, Uncle, what is the background of that Sikong Chiwen from Clearwater City? Recently, there have been rumors about him. Is the Sikong family very powerful in Clearwater City?" Mu Yu went to Clearwater City to find Tianbu Wait. Since Tianbu Wait was going to fight with this Sikong Chiwen, who suddenly rose up in 2 months, he could also find out more about Sikong Chiwen. Country bumpkin. What's so great about a Sikong Chiwen? Our Mu family has a... Chapter 491. Clearwater City was a huge city, and there were cultivator families of all sizes scattered around the city. The 5 biggest cultivator families were the Sikong family, Dongfang family, Yin family, Gu family, and Mu family. According to Mu Rongxuan, the Sikong family started rising in the past half a year. Clearwater City originally only had 4 huge families, and the Sikong family was not included. The Sikong clan was originally just a subsidiary clan of the Mu clan. However, in the past 6 months, Sikong Chiwen had appeared out of nowhere. Not only had he entered the Supreme Celestial Leaderboard from a nobody, but he had also overcome all obstacles and slaughtered his way up the leaderboard to become the 51st Supreme Celestial. Sikong Chiwen became a dazzling star on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard, and the Sikong family status also rose. Not only did they announce that they were leaving the Mu family, but they also became the most powerful family in Clearwater City. The Mu family used to be the old master of the Sikong family. However, after Sikong Chiwen appeared in the Sikong family, the Sikong family began to turn the tables. They wantonly suppressed their old master and took most of the Mu family's business. Now, the Mu family only had a name. They had declined from being a big family. Now that a clan had produced a supreme immortal, and a talented one at that, their future was limitless. Naturally, they had the right to be arrogant. The Sikong family relied on Sikong Chiwen's reputation to make a name for themselves in Clearwater City. Other families did not dare to challenge them. Actually, our Mu family also had a supreme immortal. His name was Mu Qingfan, and he was the 93rd supreme immortal. What a pity. Mu Rongxuan shook his head dejectedly. Mu Hao clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Father, don't worry. When I grow up, I'll definitely teach this Sikong Chiwen a lesson." Mu Qingfan, the 93rd Supreme Immortal. Isn't he very outstanding? What happened? Mu Yu asked curiously. It should be a good thing for a family to have a Supreme Immortal. Why were they so disappointed? Mu Rongxuan sighed. Sikong Chiwen's first battle was to challenge our Mu Qingfan and severely injure him. He still hasn't woken up yet. In the past, we treated the Sikong family well, but they stepped on us to climb up. The first battle after Sikong Chiwen's rise was to challenge the genius disciple of his old sect, Supreme Immortal Mu Qingfan, who was ranked 93rd back then. Originally, the Mu family was very angry at the Sikong family's provocation and hoped that Mu Qingfan could severely punish Sikong Chiwen. But he had never imagined that Sikong Chiwen's strength had increased so much at some point. He had actually defeated Mu Qingfan and had almost killed him. At that time, the Mu family was very shocked. However, it was a fact that Mu Qingfan had lost to Sikong Chiwen. After that, the Sikong family began to leave the Mu family. Because they were the most familiar with the business of their old master, they directly took away half of the Mu family's business. Mu clan wanted to save him, but Sikong Chiwen defeated 21 extreme immortals in a row and established his status as a genius. Relying on Sikong Chiwen's reputation, all the businesses that were originally related to the Mu clan all chose to follow the Seacon clan. Without an extreme immortal as their pillar, the Mu clan instantly fell from their pedestal. That's a pity. Mu didn't know what to say. Logically speaking, the Seacon family wasn't wrong. They had a genius disciple and naturally wouldn't be willing to be under others. It was inevitable that they would rise. Although stealing the business of their old master was very unkind, if the Mu family didn't stand up, it would be very difficult for them to contend against the Seacon family. Pity my ass. I really hope that Tiandu will kill that bastard Seacon Chiwen. When our Mu family was strong, the Seacon family was still bowing and scraping. Now, they're actually riding on top of our heads. When I grow up, I'll definitely personally take revenge for Big Brother Qing Fan and destroy the Seacon family. Mu Hao said angrily. It's still too early for you to destroy the Seacon family. Seacon Chiwen is challenging Tiandu now, which means that his cultivation is already at the spirit-severing stage. You're just a little kid at the foundation establishment stage. If your family can't find a second Mu Qing fan, you should think about how to protect yourself first. Mu Yu said bluntly. This was a very realistic matter. The appearance of the extreme immortal ranking had allowed many people to rise. The Mu family's Mu Qing fan was already seriously injured and unconscious. They didn't have the prestige of an extreme immortal, so they definitely weren't a match for the Seacon family. Who said we don't have a second Mu Qing fan? Our family still has a Mu Yu. Mu Hao blurted out. Impudent. Little Hao, shut up. Mu Rongshuan said angrily. What the hell is Mu Yu? Mu Yu blinked, not understanding what was going on. Then he thought of something. He was Mu Yu. Sorry, I've let little friend see a joke. Children love to talk nonsense. Little friend Feng Mu, don't listen to him. Mu Rongshuan's expression was somewhat strange, as if he was hiding something. Father, you know that I'm not lying. Mu Yu is the disciple of a true god. He's also a member of our family. Mu Hao said stubbornly. Mu Yu was a little stunned when he heard that. How did he suddenly have another family? You're saying that the handsome and elegant true god disciple is a member of your Mu family? Mu Yu felt a burst of laughter in his heart. I think you're mistaken. He just happens to have the surname Mu. If he finds out that you're randomly recognizing relatives, he won't be happy. We're not randomly recognizing relatives. Mu Yu is a member of our family. Mu Xian also said loudly. Mu Yu frowned. What were these siblings doing? He had grown up in the Mayan mountain range since he was young. It was impossible for him to have any connection with the Mu family in this barren Clearwater city that was thousands of miles away. If it wasn't for his good temper, perhaps he would really teach them a lesson. After all, this was tarnishing his reputation. The Mu family's method of claiming kinship was really laughable. Just because the true god disciple's surname was Mu, he was a member of their Mu family? Little friend, don't blame us. Actually, this matter is a long story. It's because our Mu family did have a family disciple wandering outside a long time ago. No one knows where he went. At that time, he wasn't born yet. However, according to our Mu family's naming rules, if he's a boy, he'll be called Mu Yu. If he's a girl, she'll be called Mu Yu. Mu Rongshuan paused for a moment before continuing. Calculating his age, he's about the same age as the true god's disciple. Therefore, the family thinks that Mu Yu is our family's disciple. It's just that we can't find Mu Yu himself to confirm it. Because this is only a guess and has not been confirmed, we don't dare to make it public. We're afraid that it won't be good if it spreads to other people's ears. After all, the true god's disciple is not a good person. Mu Rongshuan smiled apologetically. He was afraid that Feng Mu, an outsider, would go around spouting nonsense. So he instructed again, actually, I feel that the people in the family are desperate to find a doctor. How could Mu Yu be one of us? Little friend Feng Mu, don't take it to heart. Just treat this matter as a joke. Don't spread it out, or else our Mu family's reputation will be ruined again. What do you mean Mu Yu is not a good person? Didn't I hear that Mu Yu is quite handsome? When Mu Yu praised himself, he didn't even bat an eyelid. His tone was very serious. Maybe it was because he had stayed with Little Handsome for too long that he had become narcissistic. That's right. You finally said something reasonable. Mu Yu gave a rare nod of approval to Mu Hao. Mu Hao's eyes began to shine as he said, "The true God's disciple is a true genius. He is my idol." During the Jindan period, he walked out of the terrifying Wither Tree Valley. He also used his Jindan period cultivation to cause havoc on the floating Immortal Island, which was full of nascent soul stage geniuses. In front of a group of nascent soul stage geniuses, he even killed a few reckless fellows. In the end, he even became the Pill Cauldron sect's genius alchemist. I heard that he even trampled many of the Pill Cauldron sect's young geniuses to the ground. I just want to ask, who in the cultivation world can compare to him? But don't forget that it was Mu Yu who caused the White Ape Demon King to appear. He even killed his fellow disciples from the Pill Cauldron sect. Mu Rongshuan said impatiently, "That's pardonable. The White Ape Demon King is so powerful." Mu Yu is only bewitched. In the end, didn't he represent our human race to defeat the demon race and ruthlessly slap the demon race's face? If it wasn't for that, the demon race would have already surpassed us. Mu Yu is the true hero. Mu Hao retorted, "What kind of truth is this child speaking?" The corner of Mu Yu's mouth curled into a smile. He found out that he had an idiotic fan for no reason. He was quite happy. It seemed like this guy wasn't as annoying as he looked on the surface. If you ask me, in life, you should be like Mu Yu and create your own wonderful legendary life. Father, don't you often say, "A child should be like this, Mu Yu"? Don't worry, Mu Yu is my idol. I will definitely learn from him, Mu Hao said solemnly. Well said. I like your straightforward personality. Mu Yu slapped his thigh. He was still a little complacent after being praised by a child. He didn't expect that he would still have a fan in the cultivation world after causing trouble everywhere. It was really amazing. What's the use of you liking it? You're not Mu Yu. Mu Hao unceremoniously choked Feng Mu in front of him. Hey, I'm not. I. Mu Yu opened his mouth and scratched his head. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't even know how to respond. When Mu Hao mentioned the legendary Mu Yu, his eyes lit up. When he saw the real Mu Yu, he had a look of disdain. Damn it, your idol is right in front of you. Give me some face. Little Shuai was already laughing in Mu Yu's embrace. Why does this silly kid look so funny? Don't talk. Mu Yu didn't let little Shuai speak. However, Mu Yu really found Mu Hao more and more pleasing to the eye. Although he always looked at him with disdain, he was still his true fan. In life, it was already good to have someone supporting him. Why would he mind so much? Uncle, if you want to recognize relatives, at least have some proof. For example, a birthmark or something. Otherwise, why would they admit it? Mu Yu looked at Mu Hao with satisfaction. In the end, he was fiercely glared at by Mu Hao. Mu Yu's mother. I'm talking about our Mu family's Mu Yu. When his mother left, she was only pregnant and hadn't given birth to him yet. Who knows what birthmark that child has? Besides, maybe it's a girl. In short, little friend Feng Mu, just treat it as a joke. Don't mind it. Mu Rongshuan said with a smile. Mu Yu frowned, because he had heard village chief grandpa say that when his mother came to Flowing Water Village, she was alone with a big belly. After giving birth to him, she disappeared without a trace, which was similar to what Mu Rongshuan had said. However, the Mu family was on the third continent and Flowing Water Village was in the Moyen Mountain Range. How could his mother pass through the vast 10,000 great mountains and return to the Moyen Mountain Range? He touched the blue stone on his neck. That was the only thing that could prove his identity. He had also studied it carefully. There was nothing special about the blue stone. It was just a kind of beautiful stone that his mother had left for him. Just as Mu Yu was about to ask for clarification, the convoy suddenly came to a halt. What's wrong? Mu Rongshuan asked. Chapter 492. Little Hao, protect little Exine, Mu Rongshuan said in a deep voice. Then, he looked at Mu Yu vigilantly and rushed out. Mu Hao protected Mu Exine behind him again. He looked at Mu Yu unkindly and said, Who are you? Why did people come to rob you the moment you came? Are those people following you? Hey, you little brat, what are you talking about? Mu Yu rolled his eyes. This guy was always rude to him. If it wasn't for the fact that this fellow foolishly worshipped him, he would have beaten him up long ago. He couldn't be bothered with Mu Hao. At least Mu Hao was a good brother. From the moment Mu Yu came in, he separated Mu Xin and Mu Yu. If Mu Yu wanted to do something to Mu Xin, he could stop him in time, although in reality, he couldn't stop him. Stay here and protect little sister, little Xin. Really? You unlucky kid. Mu Yu shook his head and got out of the carriage. It was unknown when, but there were already more than 100 burly men outside, surrounding the entire convoy. These people were all dressed in black. Their chests were bare and their faces were fierce. There were also many scars on their bodies. One look, and you could tell that they often lived a life of blood on the tip of a blade. The leader was a sinister, one-eyed old man. His hair had all fallen off, and there were many scars on his face. He held a large machete in his hand and licked his lips sinisterly. He chuckled and said, "Obediently hand over all your valuables. Leave the goods and the women behind. As for the rest, cut off one of your arms and get lost." One-eyed dragon. Our Mu family's annual fee has been paid, right? What's the meaning of this? Mu Rongshuan shouted angrily. One-eyed dragon was a group of bandits in the desert. They specialized in hijacking passing merchant caravans. Many merchant caravans in Clearwater City had been hijacked by them. Clearwater City's 4 great families had once joined forces to completely eliminate these bandits. But they were like wolves in the desert. They came and went without a trace. No one knew where their nest was. In the end, they had no choice but to negotiate with One-Eyed Dragon. Every merchant caravan would pay a toll. So what? The Mu clan is the one that I'm robbing. From today onwards, the Mu family will have to pay double the toll. The one-eyed man cackled, and 2 burly men from the Jindan period appeared behind him. Mu Rongshuan's face changed. He was the only one in the Jindan period in the Mu clan caravan. The others were all in the Qi refining stage and foundation establishment stage. If they were to fight, it would be disastrous. Good, we'll pay. Mu Rongshuan tried his best to suppress his anger. He had brought his own child with him this time. In order to avoid causing more casualties, he had no choice but to choose to spend money to avoid disaster. Even if you do, you'll have to cut off one of your arms. Also, leave the women behind. One-Eyed Dragon chuckled. You're going too far. Boss, let's fight it out with him. At worst, I'll just die. The people of the Mu family's caravan were not afraid of death. They were all hot-blooded men who had been escorting goods all year round. They had already tied their heads to their pants. Even if they were to die, they would drag a few people down with them. You guys were sent by the Sikong family, right? Mu Rongshuan instantly thought of something. Robbers only liked money. If they could get money without using force, who would be willing to risk their lives? The Mu clan was willing to pay double the toll, but they were not willing to let them go. It was obvious that there was someone behind them, and the only one who had a grudge with the Mu clan was the Sikong family. Taking someone's money to eliminate disaster. Since someone wants your life, just hand it over. Kill for me. One-Eyed Dragon did not only want Mu Rongshuan's arm, but also his life. With a wave of his hand, the 100 or so robbers behind him immediately pounced over like tigers and wolves. Little Hao, quickly take little Xian away. Mu Rongshuan roared and rushed towards One-Eyed Dragon alone. He was not afraid of death, but with his son and daughter by his side, he could not let anything happen to them. Mu Rongshuan's body lit up with a green light. The flying sword in his hand drew a sharp arc in the air. It flew towards One-Eyed Dragon and clashed with One-Eyed Dragon. One-Eyed Dragon wielded a ferocious broadsword like 1,000 caddies. It fiercely clashed with Mu Rongshuan's flying sword. Mu Rongshuan's expression changed, and he retreated a few steps. However, the 2 Jinan period robbers behind One-Eyed Dragon had already rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, they sent Mu Rongshuan flying. Your life in exchange for those things is really worth it. One-Eyed Dragon took out his broadsword and slashed down at Mu Rongshuan. Mu Rongshuan was shocked and furious. He watched as the broadsword fell towards his neck. You have to disturb me on a good journey. So annoying. An impatient voice of complaint sounded out. One-Eyed Dragon then realized that his broadsword had stopped an inch away from Mu Rongshuan's neck. He raised his head in shock, but before he could see clearly who had attacked him, his entire body had already spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying backwards. A powerful spiritual energy had directly struck him in the chest, shattering all the life in his body, causing him to bleed to death from all 7 orifices. Some kind of faint white light shot out from One-Eyed Dragon's corpse. But before it could escape, it was unknowingly sucked in by Mu Yu's Mu Ling. The 2 Jindan period robbers beside him also widened their eyes. The 2 robbers who were originally insufferably arrogant had already fallen before they could even make a move. Hey, what are you guys still fighting for? Your boss with one eye is already gone. What the hell are you guys still fighting for? Mu Yu lazily kicked One-Eyed Dragon in front of the group of robbers who did not care about their lives. His eyes flashed with a trace of hostility. These Jindan period Foundation establishment stage beggars were not even worth mentioning in front of him. Anyway, this group of people were people who killed people like scything flax. Mu Yu would not feel strange killing them. All the robbers were stunned. Seeing their boss of the Jindan period lose his life in the blink of an eye, they understood that they had accidentally gnawed on a hard bone. It was unknown who shouted go, and all the robbers immediately scattered in all directions, hurriedly running for their lives. Forget it, just kill them. It can be considered as getting rid of evil for the people. Mu Yu thought for a moment. He didn't like killing people, but if some people lived, it meant that more people would die. So he just snorted, and a tyrannical spiritual force swept out in an instant, wrapping the bodies of each of the robbers. More than 100 robbers who were running for their lives suddenly trembled. Everyone's body suddenly fell down with a loud bang. Countless indiscernible white lights once again merged into Mu Ling's sword. Mu Yu felt that there was something strange in his heart. It was like the pleasure of killing. The thing that he used to reject very much now made Mu Yu seem so calm. Mu Rongxuan looked at Mu Yu with a face full of shock. His mouth did not close for a long time. Just now, when One-Eyed Dragon's broadsword chopped down, he thought that he was finished. Who would have thought that this thin and weak young man would directly kill more than 100 robbers with just a few grumbles? Yu. Mu Rongxuan was still sitting on the ground as he looked at Mu Yu in disbelief. At first, he thought that these robbers were attracted by Mu Yu. He was originally worried about his 2 children, but in the end, he found out that he had misunderstood them. Uncle, it's fine. Mu Yu clapped his hands, flicked off the dust on his body, turned around, and walked towards the carriage. Taking care of these small characters was simply a simple matter. It did not take much time. Father, I'm not leaving. I'll help. Mu Hao heard his father's heart-wrenching cries, and his heart was filled with shock. He was a stubborn child. Just as he stuck his head out and was about to fight to the death with the robbers, a hand roughly pressed down on Mu Hao's head and pushed him back, causing Mu Hao to fall flat on his back. Help what? By the time you crawl out, the daylily will be cold. Mu Yu said impolitely and crawled back himself. You spy. I'll fight it out with you. Mu Yu had just crawled in when a sword pierced towards him. However, the sword seemed to be made of mud and suddenly shattered into a pile of slag. Fight your sister. Mu Yu raised his hand and flicked Mu Hao's head, causing Mu Hao to be dumbfounded. Then, seeing Mu Xin's frightened gaze, he remembered that Mu Xin was Mu Hao's sister and quickly laughed. Ah, the fight your sister I said wasn't talking about you. Little Hao, stop. You can't be rude to your benefactor. Mu Rongxuan only reacted when he heard Mu Hao's voice. He scrambled over, afraid that his son would do something rude. Benefactor, my son doesn't know etiquette. I'm really sorry, benefactor, please don't mind. Mu Rongxuan said in fear and trepidation. How could he have thought that the lost little lamb he casually picked up on the road was actually a hidden expert, and even saved their entire caravan? Father, are you all right? This spy. Shut up. Quickly apologized to our benefactor. If it wasn't for him exterminating the bandits, we would have been finished long ago. Mu Rongxuan raised his hand and wanted to give Mu Hao a slap, but he was stopped by Mu Yu. Forget it. Children's words carry no harm. Mu Yu said indifferently. This guy just crawled out for less than 2 breaths of time. How could he exterminate the bandits? Father, are you joking? Mu Hao said suspiciously, but he was fiercely glared at by Mu Rongxuan. Benefactor, I have not taught my son well. I hope that benefactor will not take it to heart. Mu Rongxuan looked at Mu Yu again after surviving a calamity. At this moment, Mu Yu still had the aura of a foundation establishment stage, but the moment he made his move, that terrifying pressure was definitely not wrong. His cultivation was more than a few thousand times higher than his. Quickly let them pack up and leave. Mu Yu still leaned on the cushion behind him with a face full of kindness, not wanting to explain too much. Mu Rongxuan quickly replied and went out again. He ordered the frightened guards to quickly clean up the battlefield and clean up their wounds. Fortunately, other than one of the guards who was heavily injured, the others were fine. Everyone quickly packed up and set off again. Benefactor Yu, Mu Rongxuan wanted to say something, but hesitated. At this moment, he was truly in awe of Mu Yu. Who would have thought that this calamity would be resolved so easily? He thought that they would all be wiped out. Call me Feng Mu. It's weird to call me Benefactor. Mu Yu shrugged his shoulders, then looked at Mu Hao provocatively. Mu Yu's face was filled with suspicion. He didn't even see how Mu Yu made his move, but just as he stuck out half of his head, he was chased back by Mu Yu. He originally wanted to kill the bandits with his father in grief and indignation, but in the end, he couldn't even see the shadow of the bandits. Little friend Feng Mu, are you a disciple of some big sect? Mu Rongxuan asked carefully. He didn't know the depth of Mu Yu's strength, so he didn't dare to ask too obviously, afraid that he would make him unhappy. No, I'm just a nobody. Mu Yu laughed and said. His name was too scary, so it was better not to say it. Even if he did, the first person to question him would definitely be Mu Hao, this rash fellow. At that time, he would have to explain a lot, which would be troublesome. Mu Rongxuan naturally did not believe that Mu Yu was a nobody, but seeing that Mu Yu did not want to say anything, he could only give up. He saw that Mu Hao was still looking at Mu Yu suspiciously and immediately shouted, Bastard, don't be rude. In the future, you have to learn more from little friend Feng Mu. Mu Hao curled his lips. Learn what from him? When he didn't come, we were always at peace. When he came, we encountered bandits, and he didn't even reveal his identity. There must be a problem with him being so secretive. Furthermore, the person I want to learn from is big brother Mu Yu, who is many times stronger than him. You want to learn from big brother Mu Yu? Mu Yu laughed involuntarily. It was a strange feeling to have a silly guy belittling and worshipping him at the same time. What's wrong? Do you have a problem with that? Mu Hao puffed out his chest, as if as long as this Feng Mu in front of him dared to insult Mu Yu, he would definitely be the first to pounce on him and fight him to the death. Chapter 493. The sun was still scorching the desert. The Mu clan's caravan left a trail in the desert as it moved forward quietly. It didn't look like it had just experienced a calamity. Uncle, you said that the Sikong clan ordered the one-eyed man to kill you. Why would they want to kill you? Your Mu clan is no longer a threat to them, right? Mu Yu asked. Sikong Chuan was now ranked 51st on the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard. Mu Qingfan was only ranked 93rd and was still unconscious. The Mu clan had lost their spiritual pillar. How could they fight against Sikong Chuan? Mu Rongxuan shook his head. They wanted to kill me to completely destroy our Mu clan. To be honest, I'm the only one in the Mu clan who knows a thing or two about business. My brothers have better cultivation talent than me, so they usually don't care about the clan's matters. Once I die, a lot of the Mu clan's businesses won't be able to be taken care of. So I thought that I might be in danger, but I didn't expect them to act so quickly. Then why didn't you send a few more nascent soul stage guards or Jinan period guards to protect this caravan? Mu Yu asked. With the Mu clan's strength, it couldn't be that they didn't even have a nascent soul stage cultivator. Mu Rongxuan shook his head. Every clan has its own difficulties. Now that our Mu clan is being bullied by the Sikong clan, my father transferred many of the experts in the clan to deal with some sudden situations in Clearwater City. I don't go out often, and this time I only needed to go out occasionally. I thought that nothing would happen, so I didn't think too much about it. These two kids also wanted to follow, so I just let them follow. I didn't expect them to almost lose their lives. After talking with Mu Rongxuan, Mu Yu knew about the general situation of the Mu clan. The current head of the Mu clan was Mu Tianhe. He was a first heaven out-of-body stage cultivator and had the highest cultivation in the clan. Mu Tianhe had 4 sons and 2 daughters. Mu Rongshuan was the 3rd son. His 2 brothers were both nascent soul stage cultivators and were the future pillars of the family. Mu Tianhe said that whoever could break through the out-of-body stage earlier would be given the position of patriarch. So Mu Rongshuan's 2 brothers were cultivating all the time. Mu Rongshuan's cultivation talent was not good, but he had a mind for business. It was just that in the Mu clan, with only a mind for business, he could not become the patriarch. He was also helpless. Those who had cultivation did not have the ability to govern the family, and those who had the ability to govern the family did not have cultivation. This was the most awkward moment for the Mu family. If Mu Rongshuan became the patriarch, he was worried that his 2 brothers would have objections, so he did not covet the position of patriarch and only focused on doing his own things. But the Sikong family seized the opportunity when the Mu family looked down on Mu Rongshuan, so they thought of ways to kill Mu Rongshuan. They were much smarter than the rest of the Mu clan. They knew that as long as something happened to Mu Rongshuan, the Mu clan's business would definitely become a mess and the Mu clan would collapse on its own. It was a pity that Mu Tianhe was old and still believed in strength above all else, so he had never sent anyone to specifically protect Mu Rongshuan. Your father is a bit muddle-headed. You should have sent someone to protect the 3 of you. Mu Yu shook his head. Little friend Feng Mu, you must be joking. The family situation is not optimistic, and we don't have enough manpower. Mu Rongshuan awkwardly smiled. His father was already old, and with Sikong Chiwen's sudden appearance and powerful cultivation, he had brought the Sikong family to this situation. That was why Mu Tianhe firmly believed that only people with high cultivation could bring glory to the family. He had neglected Mu Rongshuan's safety, but Mu Rongshuan didn't blame his father for not considering everything. Being said like this by Mu Yu, Mu Hao was unhappy and retorted, "You're not allowed to talk about my grandfather like that. I'm telling the truth, you brat." Mu Yu said, "If your grandfather's mind is clear, he should know that it is not enough to rely on cultivation to govern the family. It's one thing to have a high cultivation, but if you don't know strategy and only know how to use your fists when you're sold, you might even help count the money. Your father knows how to do business, so safety is definitely the first priority." Then he thought of something and asked, "Then don't you have a brother and 2 sisters?" "My 2 sisters are married and are not in Clearwater City. As for my 4th brother, it's fine if I don't say it." Mu Rongshuan seemed to have something that was hard to say and did not continue. Mu Yu did not ask any further. How the Mu clan did not have much to do with him. Although they all had the surname Mu, Mu Yu did not feel that anyone he met was really his relative. There were many people with the same surname in the same sect, so there was nothing to be conflicted about. He was not interested in the conflicts between the clans. This time, he made a move purely because he was following the carriage. His purpose in coming to Clearwater City was to kill Tian Bu 2 months later. With the speed of their camel beasts, it took them a full 5 days to reach Clearwater City. Along the way, Mu Rongshuan was very respectful to Mu Yu, but Mu Hao would occasionally choke on Mu Yu. Whenever Mu Rongshuan praised Mu Yu as a young hero, Mu Hao would timely interrupt and say that young hero was used to describe Mu Yu and not Feng Mu. Then he would say a few times that he wanted to learn from big brother Mu Yu. "You unlucky child." Every time Mu Yu was belittled, he would be very unhappy. However, this guy would always say Mu Yu long and Mu Yu short, throwing all the good words on Mu Yu, which made him very happy. It made Mu Yu want to admit that he was the great big brother Mu Yu that Mu Hao spoke of, so that this guy would not be so wary of him. The reason why a city in the middle of a desert was called Clearwater City was because the cultivators used some methods to draw underground water into the city. The entire city was filled with red flowers and green willows, forming a stark contrast with the arid desert outside. Clearwater City was very big and prosperous. From time to time, a few cultivators could be seen flying in the sky on their swords. This city was mostly populated by ordinary people. Walking on the streets, there were all kinds of hawking sounds. There was no lack of delicious food, especially when the aroma of Rujiamo drifted into little Shuai's nose, making him almost intoxicated. Little Shuai drooled and wanted to look for food, but he was firmly held down by Mu Yu. Little friend Feng Mu, do you have a place to stay in Clearwater City? If you don't have a place to stay, you can stay in my Mu family for a while and let me do my best as a host. How about it? Mu Rongshuan said sincerely. There's no need to trouble Uncle. I want to walk around and familiarize myself with Clearwater City. Mu Yu shook his head. Big brother Feng Mu, you've helped me before. Let us thank you properly. Little Xin can tell Big brother Feng Mu what's fun in Clearwater City. This way, Big brother Feng Mu won't get lost like in the desert. Clearwater City is very big. Mu Xin said happily. Mu Hao snorted in dissatisfaction. He did not welcome Mu Yu's arrival. Does the Mu family have a lot of delicious drumsticks? Little Shuai interrupted. Along the way, Mu Rongshuan and the rest also got to know little Shuai, this spiritual beast that looked like a little squirrel. He hurriedly smiled and said, Yes, yes. If you want to eat anything, just tell the servants to prepare it. Mu Rongshuan knew that the young man in front of him was not ordinary. From the way he dealt with the bandits yesterday, he knew that Mu Yu's cultivation was at least at the nascent soul stage. A nascent soul stage cultivation was considered quite high in the Mu family. If they could invite such a great god to stay by their side, it would be an extremely good thing. Uncle said to eat until we're full. Mu Yu, can we stay? Little Shuai wagged his big tail and asked pitifully. Damn it, when did I starve you? Mu Yu glared at little Shuai. Every time he bought so much food, it went into little Shuai's stomach. He lived every day smelling the fragrance of drumsticks and had to clean the oil stains on his body. He didn't even get to bite the bones. Big brother Feng Mu, stay. Little Xin saw that her father wanted Mu Yu to stay. She ran over and pulled Mu Yu's hand with a pleading face. Mu Yu looked at little Xion's cute appearance and his heart softened. He reached out and pinched little Xion's little face and said, All right, then I'll stay here for a few days. But his hand was slapped away by Mu Hao. Mu Hao warned, Don't touch my sister's face. Mu Yu resisted the urge to beat this kid up and muttered, We're both born from the same father. Why is the difference so big? Mu Hao wanted to refute, but Mu Rongshuan had already pulled it behind him. Mu Rongshuan saw that Mu Yu agreed to stay and was filled with joy. Little friend Feng Mu, it's my honor to be able to stay. As long as little friend Feng Mu has any needs, just say it. There's nothing I, Mu Rongshuan, can't do. Then I'll have to thank Uncle Mu. Mu Yu cupped his hands and said, The Mu family's courtyard was quite big. After all, it was one of 5 great families in Clearwater City. Although it was weak now, it was not something that some small families could covet. Mu Yu followed Mu Rongshuan to the Mu family. The gatekeeper immediately ran over to welcome Mu Rongshuan. Young Master Rongshuan, you're back? Was the journey smooth? An old man dressed in steward attire walked over and said respectfully with a bow. We'll talk about some things later. Uncle Mu, nothing major happened in the family while I was away, right? Mu Rongshuan asked. Uncle Mu wanted to say something, but hesitated. He said, Master asked you to go find him immediately after you came back. Some things happened in the family while you were away. No need. Rongshuan, quickly come with me to the medicinal herb shop in the east of the city. They'll belong to the Sikong family very soon. An old man with white hair and beard walked in with large strides. This old man exuded a powerful aura from head to toe. He was awe-inspiring without being angry, making people not dare to look at him directly. This was the Mu family's current family head, Mu Tianhe. Grandpa. Mu Xin happily ran towards Mu Tianhe and hugged him. Mu Tianhe's stern face revealed a rare smile. He rubbed his granddaughter's head and said, Little Xin, be good. Grandfather and your father have to take care of some things. Grandfather, what's so urgent? You don't know. We almost had an accident on the way back. Mu Xin said. What happened? Mu Tianhe frowned and asked in a deep voice. Mu Rongshuan quickly walked over and said, Father, the Sikong family sent the desert robber One-Eyed Dragon to kill me. What? It's the Sikong family again. Are you all right? Mu Tianhe's expression changed slightly. He looked at Mu Hao and asked quickly, "Father, we almost lost our lives. Fortunately, this little friend Feng Mu helped us kill One-Eye Dragon and saved us." Mu Rongshuan quickly introduced Mu Yu to Mu Tianhe. Mu Tianhe sized up Mu Yu and was surprised by Mu Yu's age. One-Eye Dragon was at least at the 9th layer of the Gene Dance stage. He was actually killed by such a young man. He carefully probed Mu Yu's cultivation and found that even with his first layer of the out-of-body stage cultivation, he couldn't see through Mu Yu's cultivation. He was a little puzzled. He then cupped his hands and said in a clear voice, "Thank you, little friend Feng Mu, for saving my Mu family. I'm the Mu family's family head, Mu Tianhe. I'm Feng Mu. Greetings to Senior Mu." Mu Yu politely returned the greeting. Although his cultivation was much higher than Mu Tianhe's, etiquette would give people a good impression wherever he went. Chapter 494. Little friend Feng Mu is so young, yet you were able to kill the 9th firmament golden core One-Eye Dragon. You are indeed a young hero. May I know who your master is? Mu Tianhe asked. For such a young person to be able to defeat the 9th firmament golden core One-Eye Dragon, his cultivation was at least at the nascent soul stage. His talent was already very high. Senior Mu, I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a rogue cultivator. This time, I came to Clearwater City for a stroll because of its reputation. I got lost in the desert, and Uncle Mu agreed to bring me along. Therefore, I can't just stand by and do nothing when something happens to Uncle Mu, Mu Yu said with a smile. When Mu Tianhe heard that Mu Yu didn't belong to any sect, his face lit up. At this moment, the Mu clan was lacking people. If he could recruit some people to the Mu clan, it would naturally be an extremely good thing. He said kindly, "Then little friend Feng Mu can stay in my Mu clan for a while. My Mu clan knows Clearwater City like the back of our hand. If you have any needs, just tell me. I'll do my best to satisfy you. Then I'll thank Senior Mu for your kind intentions. Feng Mu will have to trouble you." Mu Yu nodded. He had a good impression of Mu Tianhe. When he heard Mu Rongshuan talk about his father, Mu Yu thought that Mu Tianhe was a stubborn old man. Mu Tianhe said sternly, "Uncle Mu, immediately arrange a separate courtyard for him to stay in and serve him well. He's now an important guest of our Mu clan and also the benefactor of Rongshuan, Little Hao, and Little Xian. Don't neglect him." "Yes, master," Uncle Mu hurriedly said respectfully. Mu Tianhe smiled apologetically at Mu Yu and said, "Little friend Feng Mu, I'm very sorry. Rongshuan and I have to go and settle some family matters first. If you need anything, just tell Uncle Mu. Uncle Mu will help you settle it." "No worries. Senior Mu and Uncle Mu can go and do whatever you want. Don't worry about me," Mu Yu said. Mu Tianhe and Mu Rongshuan quickly left the Mu clan. It was obvious that they were going to settle the conflict with the Sikong clan. Mu Xian skipped over while pulling Mu Yu's hand. Mu Hao snorted and left by himself. Uncle Mu led the way in front, leading Mu Yu to the courtyard. But at this moment, a middle-aged man with a drunken face suddenly stumbled over, and the smell of alcohol on his body could be smelled from afar. This middle-aged man was dressed very casually, and his hair was messy. He looked like a tramp, which did not match the orderly environment of the Mu family. The middle-aged man was holding a wine bottle in his hand. His eyes were half open. When he saw Mu Yu, he threw the wine bottle at Mu Yu, shattering it all over the ground. "Why did you invite an outsider? Get the F***CK out of here. I don't need any treatment," the drunkard slurred. "Treatment?" Mu Yu raised his eyebrows. Uncle Mu shook his head and apologetically said to Mu Yu, "Little friend Feng Mu, please don't take offense. This is our 4th young master. His mind is a bit muddled, so please don't laugh at him." As he spoke, he quickly walked over and supported the drunkard, saying, "He is a guest invited by 3rd young master. He is not here to treat 4th young master's illness. Don't be rude to a guest. Hurry up and go to sleep. Be good. Don't lie to me. I don't need any treatment." The drunkard couldn't stand steadily and fell to the ground. From time to time, he would point at Mu Yu and mutter things like, "Get the F***CK out." Uncle Mu looked at the drunkard with eyes full of pity and helplessness. He kept persuading him, and finally called a few servants to carry him away. Don't be shy. Fourth young master is rude to everyone. Little friend Feng Mu, please don't take it to heart. This way, please. Uncle Mu brought Mu Yu to a quiet courtyard, and then ordered the servants to prepare some roast ducks according to Little Shuai's request. Then he left. Mu Yu looked at the clean and tidy courtyard and was quite satisfied. He asked, Little Xian, who was the drunkard just now? Mu Xian blinked her big eyes and said, It was my fourth uncle. My father said that his mind is not normal. I don't know. Anyway, he's been like this for as long as I can remember. He drinks all day. If he doesn't drink, he will get angry and smash things everywhere. My father often shakes his head and sighs at him. Mu Yu remembered that Mu Rongshuan had said that he had 3 brothers. He only said 2. When he mentioned the last one, he didn't say anything. Presumably, it was this person. For the Mu family to have such a person, it was a disgrace. It was understandable that he didn't want to say too much. What is your fourth uncle's name? Mu Yu asked. Fourth uncle's name is Mu Zhixing. I heard from my father that he was fine when he was young. Later on, an accident happened. He abandoned himself and never woke up again. Mu Xian tilted her head and thought for a while. Then she said excitedly, Brother Feng Mu, I will take you out to play tomorrow. I know that there are many fun places in Clearwater City. You will definitely want to go. Little Xian, I think you want to go play by yourself, right? Mu Yu looked at Mu Xian's dancing and shook his head helplessly. Mu Xian touched her head embarrassedly and said, I haven't played in a long time. In the past, my father would send people to accompany me. He didn't have time. But ever since the accident at home, he didn't let me wander around. He said that he was afraid of encountering danger. But as long as Brother Feng Mu is here, nothing will happen to me. Am I right? Mu Yu smiled and said, Okay, I will tell your father tomorrow. I will accompany you to play. Bang! Just as they were talking, the door to the courtyard was suddenly opened. The smell of alcohol wafted out again. Mu Zhixing stumbled in drunkenly with another bottle of wine in his arms. He walked over to Mu Yu, drinking as he walked. Fourth uncle, can you stop drinking? Mu Xian pinched her nose and ran over angrily with her hands on her hips. Mu Zhixing burped and said, Okay. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Mu Yu casually. His bleary eyes looked very tired. Little Xian, let's go. Don't be alone with outsiders. Let's go to fourth uncle's place. I will give you something fun to play with. No, fourth uncle, your place stinks. I won't go. Mu Xian shook her head. Even if you don't go to fourth uncle's place, you should still be with little Hao. Where is he? Didn't I tell him to keep an eye on you? Mu Zhixing took another sip of alcohol. Fourth uncle, I am here. I just want to do something. Mu Hao ran in and supported the drunk Mu Zhixing, frowning. Don't let little Xian be alone with outsiders. It's dangerous. Mu Zhixing glanced at Mu Yu again. His drunken eyes did not waver at all. Then he slowly left. Mu Yu shrugged. He did not understand why this drunkard was so wary of him, just like Mu Hao. I don't look like a bad person. Mu Yu looked at little Xian, who was only 8 years old. She felt funny in her heart. Could it be that she would kidnap little Xian and sell her? Little Xian, this Feng Mu didn't do anything to you, right? Mu Hao glared at Mu Yu. Hey, boy, what can I do to little Xian? Mu Yu asked unhappily. Mu Hao snorted. You better not do anything. Otherwise, when big brother Mu Yu comes back, I will make you suffer. Tisich, if Mu Yu comes back, so be it. I'm not afraid of him. Mu Yu replied without hesitation. Then he remembered that he was Mu Yu. What nonsense was this? Along the way, Mu Hao kept mentioning the Mu Yu in his imagination. Mu Yu was confused. Sigh, I can't be bothered with you. Really? Little Xian, come find me tomorrow. Mu Yu waved his hand helplessly and turned to go back into the house. Uncle Mu quickly arranged for the servants to bring up a large pile of roast duck and roast lamb. Little Shuai was so happy that he almost flew to heaven. The delicious food filled the entire table. His small figure was almost lost in the food and could not be seen. Big earthworm, come and eat this. Sheep penis is delicious. You eat that too? Aren't you afraid of nosebleeds? Dragon vine coiled around the chair and used its tail to hook the wine pot. I don't like meat. I like wine. Wine is spicy and disgusting. You might as well drink my piss. Little Shuai liked to eat everything except wine. He hated the spicy taste of wine. It would cause him to be unable to taste anything else. What do you know? Wine can wash away your worries. What do you have to worry about, big earthworm? It's true that you're ugly. Do you want to die? Muyu looked at the bones being thrown out of the food on the table. He had no appetite at all. He lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling in a daze. Thinking about the purpose of his trip to Clearwater City, he sighed. His cultivation was only at the 9th heaven of the out-of-body stage. How was it going to fight Tian Bue, who was in the spirit-severing stage? 2 months later, many people were paying attention to the battle between Sikong Chiwen and Tian Bue. Both of them were as talented as him, especially this mysterious Sikong Chiwen. He was not even on the list when it was first released. How did he enter the spirit-severing stage in just a year? His talent was probably several times more terrifying than his. Clearwater City was not famous in the Third Heaven continent. The overall cultivation of the self-cultivators here was not high. It was only because of Sikong Chiwen's appearance that the city suddenly became famous. Needless to say, within 2 months, a large group of self-cultivators would gather here to watch the legendary battle between Sikong Chiwen and Tian Bue. One was a dark horse, and the other was the young master of Stargate. This battle was very interesting. Muyu's goal was different from everyone else. No matter who won, it had nothing to do with him. As long as he could kill Tian Bue with his own hands, that was enough. Muyu, don't think too much. Do you want to drink some wine? It can help you forget your troubles for a while. Dragonvine was not as heartless as Little Shuai. It knew what Muyu was thinking, so it hooked a pot of wine with its tail and handed it over. Muyu was not pretentious. He directly poured himself a mouthful. The spicy wine entered his body and warmed his whole body. He thought of the 4th young master of the Mu family. This guy drank all day long. What could he have forgotten? Who cares? Muyu drank another mouthful. Wine was indeed a good thing sometimes. While the wine stimulated the senses, it could also dull one's nerves and prevent one's imagination from running wild. Night fell quickly. Little Shuai had already finished all the food on the table. It ate food that was more than 10 times its size, but its stomach was not bloated. It really did not know how this guy digested it. Dragonvine was already lying next to Muyu and taking a nap. Muyu also closed his eyes in satisfaction. Chapter 495. Muyu got up and opened the door carefully. Using the moonlight, he saw a drunk man looking at him lazily before lying down on the floor. The wine bottle in his hand rolled to the side and disappeared. Soon, snoring sounds came from the guy's nose. Hey, uncle, even if you're wary of me, you don't have to sleep at my door, right? You don't have to be so obvious. Muyu pursed his lips, but Mu Zhixing did not respond to Muyu. He just turned around and continued sleeping. Muyu did not sense any cultivation fluctuations from Mu Zhixing. He felt that he was just an ordinary person. But today, he saw how much he cared about Mu Xian. This made him curious. Why would a person who relied on drinking to get by be so concerned about a little girl? It seemed that this guy was not drunk at all. He still had some consciousness. Uncle, did you meet some obstacle that you can't get over? That's why you're thinking about drinking every day? Muyu did not want to chase him away. He waved his hand, and the wine bottle on the table flew to him. Then he turned around and sat on the roof, staring at the moon in a daze. But everyone has obstacles that they can't get over. Muyu seemed to be talking to himself. I've met some obstacles too. The people closest to me were framed and killed. But the enemy is so powerful. But I won't choose to wallow in despair. I will choose revenge. Mu Zhixing's body suddenly moved, but he just turned around and lay on his back, snoring as usual. I came to Clearwater City to look for someone. It has nothing to do with the Mu family. Don't worry about me. Muyu lay on the roof. He did not understand why he was saying all this to a drunk man. Maybe it was because he had drunk a little too much tonight. It was uncomfortable to keep things bottled up in his heart, but no one wanted to listen to him. and a drunkard was obviously the most suitable audience for him. In his opinion, this drunk man was probably troubled by something and was unwilling to face reality. He had been wallowing in despair for so many years. Maybe they had encountered the same thing, but made different choices. The night breeze blew gently. The bright moon hung high in the sky, and the stars dotted the night sky. It was a quiet night. One person lay on the roof, the other on the ground. They both had their own thoughts and were either asleep or awake. When Muyu started snoring softly, Muzhishing suddenly opened his eyes. The drunkenness in his eyes had disappeared and was replaced by an indescribable sadness. But soon, Jupiter closed his eyes and fell asleep again, snoring loudly. "Brother Fengmu, Brother Fengmu, get up, let's go play." The door to the courtyard was not closed at all. Mu Xian ran in excitedly and did not see where she was going. She stepped on Mu Zhixing and almost tripped. Fourth uncle, why are you sleeping in Brother Fengmu's courtyard?" Mu Xian crawled and cried out in dissatisfaction. Jupiter wobbled as he sat up. He glanced at Mu Xian with sleepy eyes, then turned around to look for something. Finally, he crawled towards the wine bottle in the corner. "Xiao Xian, so early." Muyu also yawned and jumped down from the roof. He saw a well in the courtyard, so he walked over and fetched a bucket of water. He washed his face to wake himself up. "Brother Fengmu, I've talked to my father. He agreed to let you take me out." Mu Zhixing was wearing a blue dress today. She looked cute and playful. "I'll go too." Mu Zhixing shook the wine bottle and was unhappy to find that there was no more wine. "No, I won't go with fourth uncle. Fourth uncle always drinks. I don't like it." Mu Zhixing ran to the well and fetched a bucket of water. Then she carried it to Mu Zhixing. "Fourth uncle, wash your face." Mu Zhixing buried his head in the bucket and shook it a little. Then he raised his head, his messy beard scrunched together. He said in a daze, "Then let Xiao Hao go with you." "Fourth uncle, don't worry. Of course I'll go with sister Xiao Xian. I won't let Xiao Xian run around with a stranger." Mu Hao's discordant voice sounded at the door. Muyu rolled his eyes. This guy still didn't believe him. What a lovable and hateful bastard. He turned back into the house and woke Long Ting up. Long Tong crawled back into his arm. She then grabbed Xiao Shuai's big tail and stuffed it into her pocket. Only then did she walk out. Clearwater City was already bustling with activity early in the morning. The streets were bustling with activity. Mu Zhixing was jumping around and looking around. She was having more fun than anyone else. Mu Hao, on the other hand, didn't take his eyes off Mu Zhixing for 15 minutes. He was afraid that he would lose her. He was a good brother. After walking around for 4 hours, they had only seen the tip of the iceberg of Clearwater City. Thus, Muyu decided to bring them on his flying sword and flew above Clearwater City. Clearwater City was different from other cities. Cultivators were not prohibited from flying here, so they could see people rushing past them from time to time. "Wow, I love flying the most, but my cultivation level isn't high enough." Mu Zhixing exclaimed happily. She was only in the chi refinement stage and couldn't fly on a sword. However, Mu Hao could. He insisted on flying by himself. However, his speed was too slow. He was mocked by Muyu, which made Mu Hao furious. "What's the use of flying fast? Brother Muyu is faster than you." Mu Hao's face turned red as he tried to keep up with Muyu's pace. However, he was always left behind by Muyu. "Muyu, your sister." Muyu couldn't help but scold. Then, why did it sound like he was scolding himself? "Muyu is my brother," Mu Hao said proudly. "Muyu is helpless." "You've never seen Muyu before. How do you know he's your brother? Don't call him so happily. What if the one in your family is Sister Muyu and not Brother Muyu?" "Even if Muyu isn't part of our family, he's still the disciple of a true God. He's also someone I worship. It's none of your business." Mu Hao felt a little powerless. Muyu was intentionally not letting him catch up. It's a good thing to worship someone, but you can't just belittle one person to raise another person. That's very wrong. Muyu recalled that when he was at Falling Dust Mountain, Lan Ling also belittled him to raise her beloved second senior brother. However, Mu Hao was belittling Muyu to raise another Muyu. This made Muyu feel helpless. "No matter what you say, You can't compare to a true God's disciple. Mu Yu is much stronger than you to begin with. You're only saying that because you can't compare to Mu Yu. Mu Hao gritted his teeth and said. His speed was getting slower and slower, but Mu Yu always maintained the speed at which he wanted to catch up but couldn't. Otherwise, this guy would have been left behind 100,000 miles away. Mu Yu felt a headache whenever he faced this hothead. He simply said, "If I say I'm Mu Yu, would you believe me? You're Mu Yu?" Mu Hao raised his eyebrows. Don't insult the two words Mu Yu, okay? Mu Yu is a great person. How are you great? Mu Yu scratched his head. He was also stumped by this question because he didn't know why he suddenly became great. Then, he felt embarrassed and said, I'm embarrassed when you say that. I'm not praising you. I'm praising Mu Yu. Don't flatter yourself. Mu Hao waved his fist. Mu Yu liked and hated this guy. He didn't even have the heart to break the image of Mu Yu in his fantasy. Okay. Your big brother Mu Yu is handsome, confident, and unrestrained. No one has ever been like him. He's brave, invincible, and handsome. Is that okay? Mu Yu felt like he was floating in the air when he said this. Anyway, praising himself didn't cost him anything. You don't have to say that. Mu Hao snorted. Mu Yu couldn't help but laugh. Big brother little Hao, don't try to be brave. Let big brother Feng Mu give you a ride. It's so easy for him to give me a ride. Mu Xian occasionally turned around to persuade him. I don't want him to give me a ride. I can fly myself. Mu Hao stubbornly clenched his teeth and persevered. He kept flying at his fastest speed. The pitiful spiritual energy in his body was almost depleted. After flying for another 4 hours, he finally couldn't take it anymore and fell with a thud. Why are you acting like an idiot? You're asking for a beating. Mu Yu helplessly rolled Mu Hao up. Mu Hao snorted stubbornly and turned his head away unwillingly. Mu Xian was quite familiar with the entire Clearwater City. It was obvious that she often went out with her father to play. Mu Yu also had a rough idea of the power distribution of the various families in Clearwater City. Mu Xian even pointed out the properties of the Mu family to Mu Yu. This is our Mu family's cemetery. The neighborhood next to it is our property. Mu Xian said. It's not anymore. Mu Hao said solemnly. What's not anymore? Mu Xian asked curiously. Other than the cemetery that still belongs to our Mu family, the shops in the neighborhood have all been taken away by the Sikong family, Mu Hao said with some reluctance. Mu Hao glanced at Mu Yu and then explained to Mu Xian which areas belonged to the Mu family and which areas didn't belong to the Mu family anymore. He also reminded Mu Xian not to go to places that didn't belong to the Mu family. The Sikong family was not to be trifled with. Mu Yu listened quietly. From Mu Hao's explanation, the Mu family's properties originally extended to all parts of Clearwater City. However, they had shrunk severely. Almost 2/3 of their properties had been taken away by the Sikong family. Many shops no longer worked with the Mu family and chose to work with the Sikong family. Damn it! What's so great about Sikong Chiwen? This bunch of snobs. Mu Hao got angrier and angrier as he spoke. In the end, he couldn't help but curse. To be honest, Mu Yu sympathized with the Mu family. However, Mu Yu didn't want to get involved in the feud between the Mu family and the Sikong family. His target was Tian Bue and not Sikong Chiwen. He didn't want to get into trouble. Kid, you should hurry up and cultivate. Try to increase your cultivation. When you surpass Sikong Chiwen, you can help your family. If the Mu family doesn't have someone comparable to Sikong Chiwen, it'll be hard for you to survive, Mu Yu said. He wouldn't help the Mu family. After all, they only met by chance and had the same surname. Who says the Mu family doesn't have one? The Mu family has a Mu Yu. Mu Hao glared at Mu Yu. Mu Yu touched his forehead. He didn't have the heart to break Mu Hao's fantasy. He was always saying Mu Yu and Mu Yu, which confused the real Mu Yu. After shopping for an entire day, Mu Yu was tired. Mu Xian excitedly said that she wanted to go to the one-word signature restaurant to eat. Mu Yu followed her directions and went to the restaurant. The one-word signature restaurant was opened by the Mu family. The charcoal grilled emperor lizard dish was especially famous. It was also Mu Xian's favorite food. When Xiao Shuai heard that there was food, he stuck his head out and grinned foolishly. He had already eaten a lot last night, and now he was still thinking about eating. Who knew what was in his stomach? How could he digest it so quickly? The one-word signature restaurant was very lively. People came and went. There were normal people and cultivators who came because of its reputation. The signature dishes here looked, smelled, and tasted good. It was an old restaurant in Clearwater City. This was the Mu family's business. Because business was too busy, Mu Hao didn't intentionally disturb the manager. Instead, he went upstairs and found a corner to order some dishes. Xiao Shuai and Mu Xin were the happiest. Halfway through the meal, Mu Hao said that he wanted to ask the manager about the one-word signature restaurant's business. So he went downstairs. However, at this moment, there were sounds of quarreling coming from downstairs. There were even a few angry scoldings. Mu Yu listened carefully. One of the voices belonged to Mu Hao. Chapter 496. This is clearly our Mu clan's restaurant. Sikong Chiwu, you dare to cause trouble here? Mu Hao angrily looked at a young man in luxurious clothing. He was about the same age as Mu Hao and was the most famous dark horse of extreme immortal, Sikong Chiwen's younger brother, Sikong Chiwu. Your family's restaurant? Mu Hao, let me tell you, this one-word signboard restaurant has already changed its name to Sikong. Right now, I'm the owner of one-word signboard. Quickly scram as far as you can. Sikong Chiwu crossed his arms and said proudly, You're talking nonsense. How can one-word signboard be your Sikong's? Mu Hao's gaze fell on the shopkeeper beside Sikong Chiwu and anxiously asked, Uncle Zhang, what he said isn't true, right? Shopkeeper Zhang lazily raised his head and glanced at Mu Hao. He smiled and said, Young Master Mu Hao, right now, one-word signboard restaurant is indeed the property of the Sikong clan. Young Master Mu Hao, if you're here to eat, then quickly go eat. After you're done eating, pay the bill and leave. Your Mu clan is already finished. Quickly scram and wait for death. Sikong Chiwu laughed loudly, his expression extremely arrogant. However, he did have the capital to be arrogant. With the extreme immortal dark horse Sikong Chiwen as his older brother, it wasn't unreasonable for one person to rise to the top. You're shameless. Mu Hao clenched his fists. He was greatly angered by Sikong Chiwu's words. The surrounding diners were discussing Mu Hao with interest. After figuring out the identity of these two people, their expressions became very playful. The Sikong clan was originally a subordinate clan of the Mu clan. Now, because of Sikong Chiwen's rise, they rode on the Mu clan's head. The Mu clan's only extreme immortal, Mu Qing Fan, was defeated by Sikong Chiwen. Now, the Mu clan no longer had the strength to contend against the Sikong clan. And this Mu clan kid had no background, yet he dared to clash with Sikong Chiwen. He was truly courting death. Mu Hao's face turned red from being pointed at by others. He suddenly raised his fist and pounced at Sikong Chiwu. It was actually not bad for him to have this cultivation at his age. However, the two retainers beside Sikong Chiwu were also Zhuji stage cultivators. They had already anticipated that Mu Hao would make a move. They turned around and blocked in front of Sikong Chiwu, pressing Mu Hao to the ground. Sikong Chiwu squatted beside Mu Hao and mocked. Today is different from the past. Whoever has the fist has the right to speak. I heard that you went around boasting that the true God's disciple, Mu Yu, is a member of your Mu family and your big brother, right? It's none of your business. Mu Hao wanted to struggle, but Sikong Chiwu's two guards were much stronger than him. They firmly held him down. Sikong Chiwu's face was filled with mockery. With your Mu family's cowardice, you still have a nerve to claim kinship with a true God's disciple. What a joke. Do you really think that Mu Yu is a member of your Mu clan? Can you be more shameless? You also can't prove that Mu Yu is not a member of our Mu clan. Mu Hao's stubborn face was filled with anger. Let's not talk about you not being able to take out evidence. Even if Mu Yu is a member of your Mu clan, so what? Could it change the fate of your Mu clan being annexed by our Sikong clan? Sikong Chiwu stroked his chin and said arrogantly, Don't be arrogant. Mu Hao furiously roared. Let me tell you, my big brother is the 51st extreme immortal. No matter how powerful Mu Yu is, he is only the 81st extreme immortal. He is nothing in front of my big brother. Even if Mu Yu is a member of your Mu clan does not have the qualifications to fight with our Sikong clan, because Mu Yu is simply not my big brother's match. Sikong Chiwu arrogantly said. Also, this restaurant is already our clan's property. It has nothing to do with your Mu clan. You should quickly scram. You actually want to inquire about the restaurant's business situation. Are you courting death? The restaurant's business was very prosperous, so there were many diners watching the show. From their conversation, many people already understood the ins and outs of the matter. They all began to point at Mu Hao and discuss animatedly. The Mu clan is truly shameless. They actually want to get involved with a true God's disciple. Do they think they can protect their property like this? He can't win, but he actually boasted shamelessly that Mu Yu is his big brother who led a wandering life outside. How is this brat so thick-skinned? That's right. What's so great about having the same surname? The 75th on the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard is called Zhang Wei. My name is also Zhang Wei. Did I say anything? You are also called Zhang Wei. I'm also called Zhang Wei. Brother, we are fated. Mu Yu, who was at the staircase, finally understood. Mu Hao had just said that he wanted to ask the shopkeeper about the restaurant's business situation these few days. However, the Sikong clan seemed to have already snatched away the signature restaurant that originally belonged to the Mu clan. Then, this hothead went against them and said that Mu Yu was a member of the Mu clan without any evidence. It was natural for him to be mocked. Mu Yu touched his forehead, feeling a slight headache. He liked that Mu Hao worshipped him, but he didn't like that he always put a label on him and always said that he was his big brother. This was indeed suspicious of randomly recognizing relatives. Mu Yu didn't plan to intervene. The two below were just children fooling around. There was no need for him to get involved. It was fine as long as no one died. Moreover, this was also a lesson for Mu Hao, so that he wouldn't always go around tarnishing his reputation. Let me tell you, even if you are a true God's disciple, you are not even fit to carry my big brother's shoes. Sikong Chiwu stepped on Mu Hao's back. You're not allowed to insult Mu Yu like this. Even if he is not a member of our Mu clan, he is not someone you can casually insult. Mu Hao roared. He didn't know where he got the strength from, but he suddenly broke free from the two servants beside him and sent them flying. He then pounced towards Sikong Chiwu, and the two of them immediately began to wrestle. Sikong Chiwu's cultivation was not as high as Mu Hao's, so he was punched in the eye by Mu Hao. His whole body flew out and knocked against a stool. One of his teeth was knocked out. Little bastard, you dare to hit me? Sikong Chiwu covered his mouth. One of his eyes had already turned purplish-black, as if he had suffered a great humiliation. His body suddenly lit up with terrifying aura, and a short blade suffused with black light appeared in his hand. Once the short blade appeared, everyone felt an oppressive power shrouding them, and their breathing became somewhat hurried. I will kill you. Sikong Chiwu threw the short blade in his hand towards Mu Hao. The black short blade's aura firmly locked onto Mu Hao. Mu Hao was alarmed and wanted to dodge, but he discovered that he was unable to break free from the terrifying black short blade. Mu Yu slightly frowned. The aura contained within the short blade is very powerful. Perhaps no one present could block it, let alone Mu Hao. His feet lightly trembled. At the critical moment, a formation swept out and swept the black short blade to the side. The black short blade pierced into the wine cabinet at the side, and instantly the entire counter exploded into pieces. What happened? Why is it so noisy? At this moment, a black-clothed middle-aged man walked over. The aura of a ninth-layer nascent soul cultivator immediately spread out and pressed down on everyone. The crowd automatically opened up a path for him. When this black-clothed middle-aged man appeared, the atmosphere in the restaurant immediately became somewhat oppressive. Clearly, this person's background is not small. Isn't this Mu clan patriarch Mu Tian's trusted aide, Mu San Tu? Don't talk too much. It's not like you don't know Mu clan's Mu San Tu's fierce reputation. The discussions of the diners gradually quieted down. They were very fearful of this Mu San Tu's day. The Mu clan's Mu San Tu appeared here for Mu Hao. When Mu Hao saw Mu San Tu, he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Uncle San Tu, you're here too. Mu Hao hurriedly pulled Mu San Tu's hand as if he had found a backer. He instantly became more confident and said to Sikong Chiwu, Uncle San Tu, the Sikong clan's people are here to cause trouble. He said that the one-word signature restaurant no longer belongs to the nameless Mu clan. Hurry up and teach this shameless fellow a lesson. Mu San Tu's original surname was not Mu. His original name was Gu San Tuesday. When he was young, he was chased by his enemies. It was Mu Tianhe who saved him. Since then, he had always followed Mu Tianhe and worked for the Mu clan. He changed his name to Mu San Tuesday. He helped the Mu clan settle many troubles. Many times, when people wanted to challenge the Mu clan's dignity, they were all dealt with by him. He had a pair of eagle claws that were as hard as iron and was famous in Clearwater City. Young Master Mu Hao let go first. Mu San Tu frowned. Uncle San Tu, hurry up and chase Sikong Chiwu out of our Mu clan's restaurant. Mu Hao still had his back facing Mu San Tuesday. Mu San Tu often followed Mu Tianhe and was very good to Mu Hao and the others. Mu Hao also respected Mu San Tuesday. Mu Hao, you really don't know what happened? Huh? Sikong Chiwu laughed. What are you laughing at? Mu Hao vaguely felt that something was wrong. Sikong Chiwu laughed for a while before saying, Sikong San Tu, tell this naive young Master Mu Hao who is your master. Mu San Tu heavily shook off Mu Hao's hand. Then, under Mu Hao's dumbfounded gaze, the nascent Soul Ninth Stage Mu San Tu respectfully walked in front of Sikong Chiwu and knelt down on one knee. Subordinate Sikong San Tu greets young Master Chiwu. Mu Hao looked at Mu San Tu, who was kneeling in front of Sikong Chiwu, in disbelief. He didn't react and ran over to grab Mu San Tu's clothes and murmured, Uncle San Tu, why are you kneeling in front of the Sikong clan? Don't call me Uncle San Tuesday. I'm now young Master Chiwu's follower, not your Uncle San Tu. Also, my surname is not Mu, but Sikong. My name is Sikong San Tu. Mu San Tu's face revealed a trace of mockery. He swung his hand and threw Mu Hao towards the table. Mu Yu slightly frowned. He swung his hand, and a formation rune silently protected Mu Hao, preventing him from being smashed. Mu Hao's body smashed the table, but he didn't feel any pain. The Mu clan was weak, yet Mu San Tu chose to betray his savior, Mu Tianhe, and chose to join the Sikong clan. He even changed his surname to Sikong and became Sikong San Tu. Such a slave who changed his surname was truly shameless. Mu Hao stood up in a daze and looked at Sikong San Tu in disbelief. He murmured, but my Mu clan has treated you well. Sikong Chiwu sneered, so what? With my brother here, my Sikong clan can give him 10 times the benefits. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Right now, he is my personal servant. Don't you think so, San Tu? Sikong San Tu lowered his head and said respectfully, Yes, young Master Chiwu. This subordinate is willing to be at young Master's beck and call, even if I have to die 10,000 times. Mu Hao's eyes were filled with confusion. He didn't know why Uncle San Tu, who was very good to him in the past, was now kneeling in front of Sikong Chiwu like a dog. He was still young and didn't know what this meant. His little heart was greatly shocked. Sikong Chiwu's sudden appearance actually caused his respected Uncle San Tu to betray him. He couldn't accept this situation. Mu Hao said, I don't believe it. Uncle San Tu, you must be lying to me. Lying to you? Then I'll let you die with understanding. San Tu, cripple his legs for me. He actually dared to hit me just now. I want to see if his useless and laughable big brother Mu Yu will come and save him. Sikong Chiwu said, Mu Yu isn't useless and laughable. I'll fight it out with you. Mu Hao roared and charged at Sikong Chiwu again. However, Sikong San Tu's eyes turned cold. 2 powerful spirit forces slashed at Mu Hao's legs. With his 9th firmament nascent soul stage cultivation, Mu Hao's legs would definitely be cut off. This old guy actually used a heavy hand. Chapter 497. Muyu didn't want to bother with these messy matters. He always thought that it was just a fight between kids and that winning or losing would be over quickly. However, when Seekong Sandu actually attacked Mu Hao, Muyu couldn't just sit by and watch. A shadow flashed by and a domineering aura swept over, forcing Seekong Sandu's spiritual energy to retreat. Seekong Sun too retreated a few steps before stabilizing his footing. He looked coldly at the uninvited guest who had suddenly appeared and became cautious in his heart. Muyu landed in front of Mu Hao and looked coldly at Seekong Sandu. You, a nascent soul stage cultivator, have the nerve to attack a foundation establishment stage junior. Seekong Sandu looked gloomily at Muyu. Muyu's faint aura seemed very weak, but gave him a very dangerous feeling. He said in a low voice, "You're not from Clearwater City, so it's best if you don't meddle in our Seekong family's business." Seekong Sandu was originally from a Mu family, and the Mu family was once the strongest family in Clearwater City. Naturally, he knew what kind of experts there were in Clearwater City. Muyu repelled him, who was at the ninth firmament of the nascent soul stage, with just one move. Clearly, this wasn't someone from Clearwater City. He was certain that the Mu family did not have such a young expert. Even though Clearwater City was huge, it was impossible for him to not know of such a talented young man, let alone the Mu family. This person must have come from outside of Clearwater City. I only have one question. Does your father know that you change your surname so frequently? Muyu asked while stroking his chin. Seekong Sandu's face turned red as he snorted. That's none of your business. If you want to meddle in our Seekong family's business, you better think carefully. Brother Hao, are you okay? Mu Xian ran down in a panic towards Mu Hao. Along the way, she saw Seekong Sandu and exclaimed in surprise, "Uncle Sandu, you're here too." However, Mu Hao held Mu Xian tightly and said, "Little Xian, he's no longer our Uncle San Tuesday. He's a dog of the Seekong clan now." Mu Hao looked at Seekong Sandu with grief and indignation. Even at this moment, he was still unable to accept this reality. The once amiable Uncle Sandu actually wanted to kill him. He was so heartless and did not care about their past relationship at all. This was the first time he had seen such a fawning person. Muyu looked at Seekong Sandu in disgust, feeling extreme contempt for this person's way of doing things. To be honest, I really don't want to be a busybody. It's just that even an outsider like me can't stand what you're doing. This brat clearly respects you so much, yet you still want to ruin his future. You're truly unparalleled in the world if you're shameless. Muyu was very angry in his heart. In his opinion, it was fine if two teenagers fought because of their brother. It was fine if they lost, as long as they didn't get hurt. But Seekong Sandu, a nascent soul stage cultivator, actually had the face to get involved in a child's quarrel. He was truly shameless to the extreme. Seekong Sandu's old face turned a bit red from Muyu's words. However, he still said arrogantly, he actually dared to make a move on Seekong Chi Wen's brother. Even if he died 10,000 times, it wouldn't be too much. If you want to be a busybody, you should first consider whether you have the qualifications to challenge Seekong Chi Wen. What? Seekong Chi Wen has the face to personally make a move on a 10-year-old child? Then he really is a famous extreme immortal. Muyu mocked. Impudent. You dare to be disrespectful to Seekong Chi Wen? You're courting death. Seekong Sandu snorted and quickly flashed towards Muyu. His hands were like sharp eagle claws. With a sharp whistling sound, he prepared to kill Muyu in one strike. Seekong Sandu's eagle claw technique was famous in Clearwater City. His hands were called iron eagle claws. They were indestructible and comparable to magic treasures. Many self-cultivators who didn't know what was good for them were torn apart by him. He had great confidence that he could directly take down Muyu. He had just joined the Seekong family and became the servant of Seekong Chi Wen's younger brother. Seekong Chi Wen was a spirit-severing cultivator. In his opinion, becoming the servant of Seekong Chi Wu's younger brother was a very honorable thing. Thus, he couldn't wait to express his sincerity to Seekong Chi Wu. With his reputation in Clearwater City and the strength of the Seekong family, he wasn't afraid of anything. However, if he truly knew Mu Yu's identity, perhaps he wouldn't recklessly make a move on Mu Yu. Sikong Santu's hands were already close to Mu Yu's neck. He viciously laughed as he imagined the pleasure of crushing Mu Yu's neck with his claws. However, Mu Yu only tilted his head and shook it impatiently. Sikong Santu suddenly felt that something wasn't right. He could clearly feel a powerful aura coming towards his dantian. This spiritual energy came so quickly that he didn't even notice it. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. Puchi! Sikong Santu fiercely spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes widened as the aura on his body rapidly withered. The originally domineering, nascent soul aura suddenly disappeared. He couldn't even muster up a single bit of strength. You actually destroyed my dantian? Sikong Santu looked at Mu Yu in shock. The dantian was the foundation of a self-cultivator. If the dantian was damaged, the cultivation would be destroyed in an instant. He would turn into a mortal and would never be able to cultivate again. Bang! Sikong Santu fell heavily at Sikong Chiwu's feet. He no longer had the insufferably powerful aura from before. He clutched his abdomen as his entire body trembled uncontrollably. If his dantian was damaged, he would never be able to cultivate again. This was a relatively huge blow to a ninth firmament nascent soul stage cultivator. Originally, the matter between your Sikong clan and the Mu clan had nothing to do with me. I was also just an outsider who had just arrived in Clearwater City. But I just couldn't stand seeing you like this. If you want revenge, then come find me. Mu Yu's voice was very loud and clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. He said this to draw a clear line between himself and the Mu clan. He was equivalent to a self-cultivator who would lend a helping hand when he saw injustice. This way, the Sikong clan wouldn't pin this matter on the Mu clan. Young Master Chiwu, save me. Sikong Santu hugged Sikong Chiwu's leg and begged. Sikong Chiwu was stunned by Mu Yu. He was once a subordinate of the Mu clan and naturally knew how powerful Sikong Santu was. At least in Clearwater City, there were less than 10 people who could defeat Sikong Santu's day. However, Mu Yu didn't even make a move, and he actually knew how to defeat Sikong Santu. Sikong Chiwu's mouth was wide open. He only reacted when Sikong Santu hugged his leg. He kicked Sikong Santu away and spat. Bah! I always thought you were very powerful. I didn't expect you to be so weak. Trash! How can you be my guard like this? Our Sikong clan doesn't want trash like you. After Sikong Chiwu finished speaking, he pointed at Mu Yu without confidence and said, "Just you wait. Don't you dare leave Clearwater City. My brother will definitely kill you." As he spoke, he didn't care about Sikong Santu and fled in a panic. Uncle Santu. Mu Xian broke free from Mu Hao and ran to Sikong Santu's day. She squatted down and asked anxiously, "Uncle Santu, are you okay? Why are you here?" Mu Xian didn't know what happened when she was upstairs. She also didn't know that Sikong Santu was now like a mortal without any cultivation. However, because Sikong Santu had always followed Mu Tianhe, she was very worried when she saw Sikong Santu collapse. Sikong Santu looked at the escaping Sikong Chiwu and then looked at Mu Xian, who was asking about his well-being. His old face flushed red. He suddenly understood what he did wrong. However, it was too late now. Why would the Sikong clan want him without any cultivation? Xiao Xian, let's go home. Mu Hao clenched his teeth. Mu Xian didn't know about Sikong Santu's current situation, but how could he not know? He knew that Sikong Santu had already received the punishment he deserved and didn't have any cultivation. He also felt sorrowful. But what about Uncle Santu? Mu Xian asked anxiously. Uncle Santu is fine. The shopkeeper will take care of him. Let's go home. Mu Hao pulled Mu Xian toward the door. After 2 steps, he turned around and said, Uncle Santu, although you were heartless to us, I can't be unjust to you. After all, you helped our Mu clan for so many years. There is an empty residence in the west of the city. I will order people to clean it up for you. You can move there yourself. Take care. Mu Hao looked up at Mu Yu and said, "Thank you, sir, for saving me." Mu Hao didn't dare to stay. He wasn't stupid. Mu Yu's words just now were to draw a clear line between them and the Mu clan, so the Sikong clan wouldn't come looking for them. Therefore, he couldn't let others know about their relationship with Mu Yu. Mu Xin originally wanted to call Mu Yu, but her mouth was covered by Mu Hao. The brother and sister left the one signboard restaurant. Sikong Sentu looked at the back of the Mu siblings and felt extremely ashamed. He had wronged them, but they still remembered their old relationship. Now that his cultivation was gone, and he had to bear the infamy of being unfaithful, he didn't have the face to continue living. He took out a dagger with trembling hands and slit his own neck. The people in the restaurant came to see what was going on. When they saw Sikong Santu end his life in shame, everyone sighed and said that Sikong Santu deserved it. They refocused their attention on the young man who had helped them, but when they looked carefully, Mu Yu was nowhere to be seen. Clearwater City was very big, and the one signboard restaurant was several hours away from the Mu family's courtyard. Therefore, Mu Yu's appearance was just a flash in the pan. No one knew where he came from or where he was going. However, everyone believed that Mu Yu was just a foreign kid who didn't know his place. He couldn't stand the Sikong clan bullying the weak, so he helped them. It had nothing to do with the Mu clan. Everyone felt sorry for Mu Yu. He had just arrived, and he had already gotten himself into big trouble. Something was bound to happen. After all, the Sikong clan had the talented Sikong Chiwen behind them. This was equivalent to challenging Sikong Chiwen's reputation. However, how would these people know that the young man who dared to help actually had a frightening background? Mu Yu silently followed Mu Hao and Mu Xin all the way back to the Mu family. He sighed in his heart. After all, he didn't want to provoke the Sikong family as soon as he arrived. However, there were some things that he couldn't stand, so he chose to take action directly. If he hadn't made a move today, Mu Hao's legs would have been crippled. This wasn't something that Mu Yu wanted to see. Chapter 498. Mu Yu sneaked back to his own courtyard. Not long after, Mu Hao ran into Mu Yu's courtyard with a red face. "What's the matter now?" Mu Yu asked indifferently. He didn't want to start a feud with someone when he just arrived in Clearwater City, but this guy always overestimated himself and provoked others. Now, he had to restrain his hands and feet. "Thank you." Mu Hao's face was red and his voice was as soft as a mosquito's. Back in the desert, he didn't see how Mu Yu taught the bandits a lesson. Everything was described by his father, Mu Rongshuan. Mu Hao didn't believe Mu Yu, but today he finally understood how powerful Mu Yu was. Mu Hao was very clear about Sikong Sunta's strength, but Mu Yu defeated him in a short while. In Mu Hao's impression, only his grandfather, Mu Tianhe, could do this. "I can't hear you. Did I save a mosquito just now?" Mu Yu said as he sat lazily on a chair in the courtyard. "I said thank you." Mu Hao suddenly raised his voice as if he was shouting hysterically, which gave Mu Yu a fright. He thought that there was something wrong with this guy again. "Why are you so loud? What are you thanking me for? In the future, when you go out, don't go around telling people that Mu Yu is your brother. Don't throw dirty water everywhere. When the time comes, if you annoy people, they will kill you first." Mu Yu said snappily. "Mu Yu won't do anything to a child like me. He's a good person." Mu Hao seemed to be sulking alone. His face is red as a monkey's, but you haven't even seen him. How do you know he's a good person? Is it written all over his face? Mu Yu's lips curled into a smile. Every time he talked to this guy, he felt angry and amused. He had to praise Mu Yu so highly that the real Mu Yu couldn't bear to come down. He is the disciple of a true god. A true god is a hero of the 3 continents. A true god's disciple is naturally a good person. From the fact that he still fought for the human race and taught the demon race a lesson while bearing infamy, we can tell that he is actually a person with a strong sense of justice and responsibility. Mu Hao defended himself. Mu Yu couldn't find a reason to scold him. He muttered, "You look quite annoying. Why do you always like to speak the truth? Moreover, even if you defeat Uncle Three-Way, you're definitely not Mu Yu's match." Mu Hao shifted his gaze away and spoke softly as if he was talking to himself. Mu Yu was almost angered to the point of vomiting blood. He resisted the urge to punch Mu Yu and said, "Fine, fine, fine. I'm not a match for that suave and elegant Mu Yu. You came to find me just to tell me this? If you're done, go back and cultivate. If you don't have the strength, don't go out blindly." However, Mu Hao didn't move. He hesitated for a long time before he stammered, "Can you teach me cultivation?" "Why do I have to teach you cultivation?" Mu Yu didn't have any intention of teaching anyone. He had so many things to do and was always running around. Even if he took in a disciple, he would most likely be an unreliable master. "Because you saved me," Mu Hao said righteously. Mu Yu was confused. That counts as a reason? Saving a person and taking in a disciple? If it's such a losing deal, I might as well let you be beaten to death by that Uncle Three-Way. "Then what do you want in order to teach me?" Mu Hao asked seriously. Mu Yu shook his head. "I don't have any plans to take in any disciples. Moreover, I'll be leaving your Mu clan soon, so I won't teach you. If you really admire someone, you should work hard to cultivate so that you could be on par with him. You shouldn't go out and sully his reputation every day. Your grandfather's cultivation is also very high. Go find him. Grandfather and the others are too busy. There's no one to teach me cultivation. I just want to learn some skills to help them." Mu Hao's eyes were a little red. "I also don't want to sully Mu Yu's reputation. My grandfather said that fourth uncle's child that wandered outside might be Mu Yu. Therefore, I always thought that Mu Yu was my cousin. I only mentioned it once in front of Sikong Chiwu. Who would have thought that he would use this to make fun of me and slander Mu Yu? Of course, I won't let him go." "Wait, you're saying that your drunkard fourth uncle is Mu Yu's father?" Mu Yu frowned. He didn't expect this. He didn't know many people in the Mu clan. That drunkard was still very wary of him. "And I don't know the details. Anyway, that's what my grandfather said." Mu Hao looked at Mu Yu dejectedly and begged again. "Are you really not willing to teach me? Let's talk about this in the future." Mu Yu shook his head. "Forget it if you don't want to. In the future, I'll go find Big Brother Mu Yu." Mu Hao left dejectedly. Mu Yu rubbed his chin and fell into deep thought. Was there really such a coincidence? The next day, Mu Rongxuan hurriedly came to Mu Yu's courtyard. His expression was filled with reverence as he respectfully said, "Greetings, Lord Feng Mu." "Uncle, there's no need to be so formal. What's the matter?" Mu Yu walked out of his room and yawned. "I heard from Little Hao that you saved his life yesterday and even taught a lesson to our Mu clan's trader, Sikong San Tuesday, Mu Rongxuan. Thanks, Lord Feng Mu." Mu Rongxuan bowed. He was secretly happy in his heart. He originally thought that Mu Yu was only a nascent soul stage cultivator, but he was actually able to cripple Sikong San Tu, who was at the 9th layer of the nascent soul stage, in one move. The Mu clan only had Mu Tianhe, who was at the 1st layer of the out-of-body stage. But Mu Rongxuan had accidentally invited a great god back. This made him extremely excited. "I don't want to cause trouble. Uncle, help me keep yesterday's matters secret. Don't tell anyone else, or else I can only leave this place." Mu Yu said, "Lord, don't worry. I've already instructed Little Hao and Little Xin. No one else knows about this." Mu Rongxuan quickly promised. Now that there was an out-of-body stage person in his house as a guest, of course he wouldn't recklessly talk about this matter. Otherwise, if he angered the other party and directly left, then it would be too late for him to regret. Mu Yu was silent for a while before asking, "Yesterday, I heard Little Hao say that his fourth uncle's son is Mu Yu. What's going on?" Mu Rongxuan's face revealed a trace of awkwardness. He didn't understand why Mu Yu would suddenly ask about this matter. However, since he wanted to keep the young man in front of him, he didn't hide it and said, "This matter actually started a long time ago. About 20 years ago, Mu Rongxuan began to talk about the past of his fourth brother, Mu Zhixing. 20 years ago, the Mu clan was still the #1 clan in Clearwater City. The children of large clans didn't have the right to love freely. Their marriages were all arranged by their parents. For the benefit of certain clans, there was a need for things like marriage. As the head of the Mu clan, Mu Tianhe chose a marriage for his son, Mu Zhixing, with someone from the Dongfang clan. However, Mu Zhixing fell in love with an ordinary girl named Zhu Qiuqi. On the eve of the wedding, Mu Zhixing eloped with Zhu Qiuqi and fled Clearwater City. This made Mu Tianhe lose face in front of the Dongfang clan. He personally led people to capture Mu Zhixing. However, after finding Mu Zhixing begged his father to let them go. This was because Zhu Qiuqi was already pregnant with Mu Zhixing's child. Mu Tianhe was furious. He wanted Mu Zhixing to get rid of this bastard and kill Zhu Qiuqi. Mu Zhixing's cultivation talent was outstanding. He was the pride of the Mu clan. His cultivation was only one step away from surpassing Mu Tianhe. This was also the reason why Mu Tianhe refused to let him marry an ordinary girl. Mu Tianhe had always wanted to pass the position of head of the Mu clan to Mu Zhixing. However, Mu Zhixing didn't like being the head of the Mu clan. He would rather be with the person he liked. He protected Zhu Qiuqi all the way from Mu Tianhe's capture. In the end, he lured Mu Tianhe away and was captured. However, Zhu Qiuqi still managed to escape with the child in her stomach. After Mu Zhixing was captured, he changed completely. He didn't want to improve himself. He missed his wife and child all day long. He didn't even see his unborn child. Mu Tianhe was furious. He didn't allow him to step out of the Mu clan. Mu Zhixing lived like this for 2 years. One day after 2 years, Zhu Qiuqi returned to Clearwater City alone. She came to look for Mu Zhixing. She missed her husband too much. She was also afraid that her child would be harmed by Mu Tianhe. Therefore, she didn't dare to bring it back. She didn't even dare to say whether the child was a boy or a girl. Zhu Qiuqi knelt at the Mu clan's door for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, Mu Tianhe couldn't bear it. He finally let them meet for a short while. However, he asked Mu Zhixing to pull himself together. As long as Mu Zhixing broke through to the out-of-body stage, he would allow the two of them to be together. The two of them met for less than 15 minutes under Mu Tianhe's nose. Mu Tianhe forced them to separate. In order to be with Zhu Qiuqi, Mu Zhixing cultivated day and night. When he finally broke through to the out-of-body stage, Zhu Qiuqi had already passed away. After giving birth to the child, Zhu Qiuqi's health was deteriorating day by day. She refused to tell anyone about the child's whereabouts. She thought that she could hold on until the day Mu Zhixing broke through to the out-of-body stage. However, she was still a few days away. One night, she walked to the end of her life with regret. In the end, no one knew where the child was. From then on, Mu Zhixing drank himself into a drunkard. His high level of cultivation also disappeared. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed. All these years, fourth brother only told us the child's name. He and sister-in-law agreed that if the child was a boy, he would be called Mu Yu. If it was a girl, she would be called Mu Yu. However, my father was present at the time. Therefore, sister-in-law didn't tell us whether the child was a boy or a girl. She also didn't tell us the child's whereabouts. It wasn't until we found out that the true God's disciple was called Mu Yu that we were extremely shocked. We have always wanted to confirm this matter. Mu Rongshuan sighed. Your father's really a good man. Mu Yu mocked. His heart palpitated slightly. This was because he remembered that when he was 2 years old, his mother left Flowing Water Village and left him an orphan. However, he still did not regard himself as the Mu Yu of the Mu family. Not to mention that this matter was too coincidental. Even if it was, Mu Yu did not want to be recognized by his family. Why would want to reunite with them? Mu Yu came to Clearwater City to wait for Tian Bushi's arrival. He killed Tian Bushi with his own hands. He wasn't prepared to look for his family. Actually, my father regretted it after he captured fourth brother. Because fourth brother missed his sister-in-law, he didn't make any more breakthroughs in his cultivation. He even sent people to look for his sister-in-law. He hoped that fourth brother could pull himself together and take over the Mu family. Although sister-in-law came back, she left so suddenly. Since then, fourth brother never woke up. Mu Rongshuan shook his head. If that child is still alive, how old would she be? Mu Yu asked in a low voice. She should be 19 years and 7 months old. I calculated this very clearly. However, we don't know the exact age of the true God's disciple. Otherwise, we would be able to confirm if she is a descendant of our Mu family. Mu Rongshuan said. Mu Yu opened his mouth slightly. Chapter 499. Mu Yu pursed his lips. He had never thought of looking for his biological parents because he wasn't sure if he could forgive them. They had abandoned him since he was 2 years old. It would be a lie to say that he didn't resent them. Sometimes, he would wonder what was the reason for parents to abandon their children. But when he learned of all this today, he was at a loss. If all this was true, then how should he face it? If Mu Zhaxing and Zhu Qiuqi were really his parents, then was what they did right or wrong? Zhu Qiuqi didn't bring her child back because she was worried that he would be persecuted by the Mu family. It seemed that all of this was caused by Mu Tianhe. Mu Yu suppressed the anger in his heart. He told himself that it might just be a coincidence and that he shouldn't get angry. He might not be Mu Zhaxing's son, but the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Ever since he had a home in Luochen Mountain, he had never thought about who his biological parents were because he couldn't forgive the 2 people who had abandoned him. When he was a child in Flowing Water Village, he saw other children acting spoiled in their parents' arms. They could hold their parents' hands and be held in their parents' arms. He couldn't. He could only sit alone on the broken doorstep of his home and watch other people's parents dote on their children. He then stared at the entrance of the village, waiting for someone who claimed to be his parents to come and pick him up. Then he could be held in his parents' arms and laugh happily. But after waiting for 10 years, he didn't see anyone. Now, fate had led him here, and by a freak combination of factors, it had helped him find his parents. This made him feel a little helpless. He had waited in the village for 10 years, but now he didn't want to see them. Mu Yu pursed his lips and continued to ask, "Other than age, is there anything else that can be confirmed?" Mu Rongshuan didn't quite understand why Mu Yu was so interested in this topic, but he still said, "I'm not very sure if Mu Yu has that thing on his body, but everyone in our family, Father, it's not good. Eldest uncle and second uncle are torturing fourth uncle again." Mu Hao suddenly ran in and shouted in a panic. "What? How could they? Bastards!" Mu Rongshuan's face revealed a trace of anger. He apologetically said to Mu Yu, "I'm sorry. Little friend Feng Mu. I'll be right back." As Mu Rongshuan spoke, he hurriedly left with Mu Hao. Mu Yu clenched his fists, not understanding what had happened, but he still followed. Walking through the Mu family's courtyard, they soon arrived at a lavishly decorated courtyard. The courtyard of the Mu family was usually very spacious, clean, and tidy. There were servants cleaning it all the time. But today, there was a group of servants outside the courtyard who were watching the fun. They were all pointing at something. "All of you stop!" Mu Rongshuan angrily ran into the courtyard. A man was tied to a wooden frame in the yard. He reeked of alcohol, and his hair and clothes were a mess. His entire body was drenched. It was Mu Zhaxing. "Third brother, you don't have to worry about this matter. If he doesn't tell us whether his child is a true God's disciple, our Mu clan will really have no future." The one who spoke was Mu Mingde, the eldest in the Mu clan. His expression was very serious. He held a bucket of water in his hand and splashed it on Mu Zhaxing's face. But Mu Zhaxing's eyes were still hazy. That little bit of water could not wake him up. That's right. The Mu clan situation is not optimistic. Because of Sikong Chiwen's existence, Sikong Gaoming is becoming more and more arrogant. If we want to fight against the Sikong clan, we can only rely on Mu Yu. Mu Zhaxing's second brother Mu Jitong said. Mu Mingde and Mu Jitong were both nascent Soul Ninth Layer cultivators. They were both candidates for the next patriarch position, but they both understood one thing. With the Mu clan's current situation, even if one of them became the patriarch, they would not let the Mu clan have an easy time. The Sikong clan had a spirit-severing stage dark horse. This was a very terrifying existence. The Mu clan did not have the qualifications to fight against them. So everyone placed their hopes on Mu Yu. How would fourth brother know whether or not the true God's disciple is our clan's Mu Yu? He is not sure about this matter at all. Otherwise, do you think fourth brother would not go to him? Mu Rongshuan shouted. Mu Jitong said, but fourth brother secretly dug out a genealogy stone. He must have given the genealogy stone to his child. He also knows where Mu Yu was born. We can go to the place where he was born to check. As long as we can verify all of this, find a way to find Mu Yu and tell him the truth, Mu Yu will definitely help us. You and I both know that back then, our Mu clan had wronged Muyu. Now, you want her to help with just a few words? It's ridiculous. You two treat fourth brother like this. Even if Muyu is a member of our Mu clan, would he be willing to watch his father be tortured by you like this? Mu Rongshuan said angrily. Mu Ming sighed. We are not torturing him. We just want him to sober up. He has been drunk for more than 20 years. It's time to wake up. If nothing happened to Qing Fan, we could pamper fourth brother. Even if he drank until he was old, we wouldn't say anything. But now, our Mu clan's business in Clearwater City has seriously collapsed. If this continues, we might be exterminated. Mu Jitong said. Mu Qing Fan was Mu Ming Da's only son. His talent was originally outstanding. When the Supreme Immortal Leaderboard was released, he was already the 93rd Supreme Immortal. The Mu clan was overjoyed and nurtured him with all their might. He did not disappoint, and his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. But good times did not last long. Who would have thought that he would be severely injured by the unknown Sikong Chiwen of the Sikong clan? They invited countless famous doctors, but they were unable to cure him. He was still bedridden. Let's not talk about whether Mu Yu will help us. Even if you know Mu Yu's birthplace, it's useless. A true god's disciple has always been elusive. Where are we going to find Mu Yu? Mu Rongshuan walked over and wanted to put Mu Zhixing down, but was stopped by Mu Mingda. It's not a problem where to find him. As long as we can prove that Mu Yu is from the Mu clan and spread the news, Mu Yu will definitely come, Mu Mingda said. Mu Yu stood under a willow tree in the corner of the courtyard and quietly watched the farce unfold in the Mu clan. He felt an inexplicable anger. From what Mu Jitong and Mu Mingda said, it seemed like he had to help the Mu clan. Was it because of the so-called blood relationship? What a joke. Are you done fooling around? An angry voice came from outside the courtyard. Then, Mu Tianhe strode in. Father, Mu Rongshuan and the rest said respectfully. Put Mu Zhixing down, Mu Tianhe said coldly. Two servants hurriedly walked forward and untied the drunk Mu Zhixing from the frame. Mu Zhixing laid on the ground with his eyes closed. He didn't even care what happened to him. Mu Tianhe's dignified gaze swept over everyone. No one dared to breathe loudly and quickly lower their heads. In the future, no one is allowed to interrogate him. Mu Yu has nothing to do with our Mu clan. Don't deceive yourself and others. Don't tarnish his reputation. If this gets out, it'll be a joke. Mu Tianhe said sternly. Mu Jitong and Mu Mingda glanced at each other, feeling somewhat unwilling. If our Mu clan wants to rise, we have to rely on everyone's unity and not on others. When will you be able to take on a heavy responsibility like this? Now that a great enemy is in front of us, we should be thinking of countermeasures and not thinking of how to find someone who has nothing to do with us. Jitong, the next time I see you, find someone to treat old for. I won't be polite to you. Mu Tianhe said angrily. Yes, father. This child knows his wrongs. Mu Jitong said dejectedly. He still hadn't given up on the idea of finding Mu Yu, but he didn't dare to show it in front of Mu Tianhe. The four brothers of the Mu clan were actually very united. Although Mu Zhixing had abandoned himself and sunk into depravity, the other three brothers were working hard for the future of the Mu clan. But many times, just relying on unity and hard work wasn't enough. In the cultivation world, strength was respected. Without a backbone, it was impossible to stand firm. Mu Tianhe was already old. Among his four sons, the eldest and second had higher cultivation talent, but they were only at the 9th layer of nascent soul. The third son was good at business. The fourth son had the best talent, but because Mu Tianhe broke up the couple, he became drunk and couldn't extricate himself. Yesterday, I heard that the trader Mu Santu's cultivation was crippled by someone, and it was related to Mu Hao and Mu Xian. What happened to the third son? Mu Tianhe asked. Mu Rongshuan looked at the crowd behind him and saw Mu Yu's figure. He hesitated for a moment, thinking that Mu Yu told him not to tell anyone. He said, Father, yesterday Mu Santu wanted to kill Little Hao under Sikong Chiwu's orders. But a mysterious man saved Little Hao. It was him who crippled Mu Santu's cultivation. Although Mu Santu is a traitor, he is still at the 9th layer of nascent soul. The person who crippled Mu San too must be at the out-of-body stage. Who is this person? Have you investigated? Mu Tianha's eyes lit up and asked anxiously. The Mu clan only had Mu Tianha at the out-of-body stage. If he could get to know another out-of-body stage expert, it would be a timely help for the Mu clan. Mu Rongshuan hesitated for a moment and shook his head. Father, this child doesn't know. Bastard, you didn't even investigate the person who saved your life. How do you do things? Mu Tianha angrily scolded. Then his gaze swept around and landed on Mu Hao. He waved at Mu Hao. Little Hao, come here. Mu Hao slowly walked in front of Mu Tianha and said respectfully, Grandfather, who saved you yesterday? Do you still recognize that person? Mu Tianha asked hopefully. Mu Hao obviously knew who saved him yesterday. He also saw Mu Yu in the crowd and was struggling in his heart. Yesterday, in order to prevent the Sikong clan from blaming the Mu clan, Mu Yu pretended to be a foreign cultivator who saw injustice. He didn't want to have anything to do with the Mu clan. He now knew Feng Mu's true strength, but he didn't know whether he should say it or not. Mu Hao secretly glanced at his father and found that his father gave him a look. He understood and said, Grandfather, that person left after saving me. I don't know who he is. Mu Tianha's expression dimmed. This was not the result he wanted to hear. He left. AI, how could he leave just like that? Mu Tianha was extremely disappointed. He patted Mu Hao's head and said, It's good that you're fine. He looked up again and sighed. All right, all of you can leave. Let me talk to fourth brother alone. Everyone left, leaving only Mu Tianha, Mu Zhexing, and Mu Yu on the willow tree in the corner of the courtyard. Mu Yu looked at Mu Tianha. Mu Yu didn't like this old man who broke up the couple. If Mu Tianha really was his grandfather, Mu Yu didn't plan to forgive him. He didn't even plan to help the Mu clan. He couldn't find a reason to do so. The wind blew past the weeping willows in the courtyard and gently swayed. A leaf floated down and spun in the air before landing on Mu Zhexing's face. Mu Zhexing didn't notice it at all. Mu Tianha looked at Mu Zhexing, who was still lying on the ground. Mu Zhexing was his most talented child, but now he had become like this. Zhexing, I know you're still angry at me for what I did to you. I regretted it very much, but you also knew that we had to marry someone from the Dongfang clan in order to fight against the Yin clan. It's too late to say anything now. Our opponent is no longer the Dongfang clan or the Yin clan, but the Sikong clan that should have submitted to us. You really should wake up. You can't sink any further. Mu Zhexing's escape from the marriage had indeed humiliated Mu Tianha in front of the Dongfang clan. When he was young, he was a very strong-willed person and wouldn't allow the Su clan to lose control. However, now that he was being pressured by the Sikong clan step by step, he seemed to be slightly powerless, and he started to regret his actions back then. Mu Zhexing didn't speak. He continued to sleep on the ground, snoring. I know you resent me. Because of me, you don't even know where your child is, whether it's a boy or a girl. All of this is indeed my fault. When that girl, Zhu Qiuqi, had an accident, it was too late for me to regret it. After all, that child is my grandson or granddaughter. I didn't expect that this incident would hit you so hard. I'm afraid the heavens are punishing me for the Mu clan situation now. Father, I'm also a person with dignity. I never expected Mu Yu to be a member of our clan, but I hope you can wake up and help the Mu clan get through this difficult time together. You were so outstanding when you were young, and your cultivation has long surpassed mine. Now I'm really at my wit's end. The Sikong clan wants to destroy our Mu clan. The Mu clan can only rely on you. At this time, Mu Tianha no longer had the imposing manner from before. Instead, he had aged more than 10 years in an instant. He was like a helpless father who regretted his wrongdoings. He sighed as he looked at Mu Zhexing lying on the ground. His eyes were filled with guilt. Mu Zhexing's cultivation had surpassed Mu Tianha's more than 10 years ago. But all these years, he had been like a cripple, drinking all day and not caring about worldly affairs. Mu Tianha knew that the only person the clan could rely on now was Mu Zhexing, who had pulled himself together. But Mu Zhexing was still lying on the ground, snoring like an outsider. Chapter 500. Mu Yu lay in his room, replaying the scene he just saw for a long time. He didn't know what to think of Mu Tianhe. Everyone has the right to pursue freedom. Mu Zhixing chose an ordinary woman as his wife, but Mu Tianhe didn't recognize her as his daughter-in-law. As the head of the family, he needed to take care of many people at the same time. For the benefit of the whole family, Mu Tianhe wanted to tie Mu Zhixing to the family through marriage, so he chose to separate Mu Zhixing and Zhu Xiaoqi. He didn't even recognize his unborn grandson. But if it was Mu Yu, he didn't think he could do better than Mu Tianhe. But Mu Tianhe's approach was too extreme. He personally ruined the future of his most talented son. Now, perhaps it was retribution. The Mu family was in a precarious situation. "Brother Feng Mu, I'm coming in." Mu Xian opened the door and saw Mu Yu lying on the bed. She walked over to Mu Yu with some frustration. "Brother Feng Mu, I don't know what happened at home. The atmosphere is so strange." Mu Xian was only 8 years old now. She didn't know that the Mu family was in danger at the moment, but the oppressive atmosphere made her realize something. "Little Xian, don't be afraid. Your grandfather and father are busy for the time being. Little Xian, don't disturb them." Mu Yu sat up, pinched Mu Xian's cheeks, and comforted her. "Everything will pass. Even brother, how doesn't want to play with me? I can only go to brother Feng Mu." Mu Xian pouted. Mu Yu seemed to think of something and asked, "Little Xian, let me ask you something. You keep saying that Mu Yu is a member of the Mu family. Do you have any keepsakes?" He didn't want to become a member of the Mu family, but he had to prove whether he was a member of the Mu family. "What is a keepsakes?" Mu Xian asked curiously. "It's something. For example, something that everyone in the Mu family has." Mu Yu explained. He remembered that Mu Rongshuan had said that everyone in the Mu family had something on them, but before he could finish his words, he hurriedly went to deal with the matters of Starbreak. "I don't know either. Oh, by the way, Brother Mu Hao and I both have this genealogy stone. My father and great-uncle Grandpa also have it. Is it the keepsake you mentioned?" Mu Xian thought for a while. Then, she took out a pendant from her neck. There was an ordinary round blue stone on the pendant. But when Mu Xian took out the blue stone, Mu Yu was stunned, because he had it too, and it was hanging on his chest right now. Mu Yu touched the blue stone on his chest and remained silent. "I heard from my father that every member of the Mu family has one." "Oh, right. I often go to the genealogy stone to play. Let's go, Brother Feng Mu. I'll take you to see that. It's very fun." Mu Xian pulled Mu Yu's hand and ran outside. Mu Yu followed Mu Xian, but in his heart, huge waves were set off. The existence of this blue stone seemed to have tied him to the Mu family's ship. But he wasn't ready to board the ship because he still hadn't forgiven the person who made him an orphan. He was dragged by Mu Xian. His mind was in a million thoughts. He didn't remember where he was going. He only knew that when he came back to his senses, they had already arrived in front of a tall attic in the Mu family's courtyard. This attic had 4 floors. It looked very fresh and elegant, with a solemn and respectful air. The first floor of the attic had the words Ancestral Hall written on it. This ancestral hall gave Mu Yu a very different impression. Very few families had built their ancestral halls like this. While Mu Yu was puzzled, Mu Xian pushed open the door of the ancestral hall and walked in. Mu Yu hesitated. It was very strange to casually enter someone else's ancestral hall. But Mu Yu's mind was in a mess because he couldn't wait to verify this matter. Was he really the Mu Yu that the Mu family spoke of? After entering the ancestral hall, he found that the center of the attic was round and hollow. What reflected in front of him wasn't many memorial tablets, but a huge blue stone. This blue stone was 4 floors high and divided into 4 sides. Each side was 10 meters long. There were many small holes dug into the surface of the stone, and each hole was round, perfectly fitting the blue stone on Mu Yu's neck. Each hole had a name engraved on it. The names were connected by lines. "Big Brother Feng Mu, look. My name is here." Mu Xian obviously came here often. She ran to the left side of the blue stone and dragged a ladder out of nowhere. The ladder looked very light. Even Mu Xian was able to drag it. She climbed up and took the blue stone off her neck. Then she untied the rope and pressed it into a round hole. The blue stone suddenly emitted a burst of blue stone. Each hole emitted light. With the blue stone that Mu Xian had pressed into the center, the light spread out layer by layer. It was extremely beautiful. Big brother phone Mu, isn't it fun? Mu Xin said happily. Mu Yu floated in the air and saw that the blue stone that Mu Xin had pressed in had her name engraved on it. He also saw that Mu Hao's name was engraved on a round hole. Mu Hao and Mu Xion's names were connected by a line. Mu Rongshuan's name was written next to Mu Zongxing's name. There was also a round hole under the round hole that represented Mu Zongxing, but only this round hole had no name engraved on it. Little Xen, what does this blue stone represent? Mu Yu stared blankly at the round hole under Mu Zongxing that had no name engraved on it. My father said that this huge blue stone is the Mu family's genealogy. It seems that the first-generation ancestor of the Mu family accidentally found it in the mountains. Because it was very strange, they decided to use it as the genealogy stone. My father said that after I was born, he dug out a small round stone next to the hole with his name engraved on it. Then he strung it up with a rope and hung it around my neck. My father said that once someone died, the blue stone would be returned to this blue stone. The light of the blue stone quickly dissipated. Mu Xian took down her own blue stone again and pressed it on it. The blue stone began to glow again, and she happily clapped her hands. Little Xian, can you go out and wait for me? I want to take a closer look at this genealogy stone. Mu Yu tightly held the blue stone in front of his chest and said, Brother Feng Mu also wants to play, but you don't have a genealogy stone. I'll lend it to you to play, okay? Mu Xian asked. Brother Feng Mu doesn't play this. I'll play hide and seek. You go outside and count to 100, then come inside and find me, okay? Mu Yu forced a smile. Okay, I like to play hide and seek the most. Mu Xian quickly climbed down the ladder and ran out of the ancestral hall. She also closed the door on her way out. Soon, the sound of Mu Xian counting could be heard from outside. Mu Yu took out his own blue stone, pursed his lips, and finally pressed the stone into the round hole below Mu Zhixing. The blue stone emitted bursts of light from Mu Yu's round hole and spread out in all directions. The gorgeous light illuminated Mu Yu's face. He was stunned. Was he really Mu Yu from the Mu family? He took a deep breath, took out his own blue stone, and held it in his hand. Suddenly, he felt empty in his heart. He regretted coming to the Mu family. He hadn't made any preparations and didn't want to find his family so soon. But now, the blue stone that he had worn around his neck since he was a child really came from here. It was hard for him to accept. He had fantasized about reuniting with his family many times, but definitely not in such a way, because he didn't know if he could forgive Mu Zhixing and Mu Tianhe. To Mu Yu, these two people were irresponsible. They let Mu Yu live like a lone blade of grass for so many years. During his childhood, when he should have been accompanied by his parents, he could only sit at the door and watch other children act spoiled in their parents' arms. His eyes were filled with envy and endless resentment. The village chief gave him a home, but there were many things that the village chief couldn't give him. He learned what a father's love was from Deadwood Daddy, but he still couldn't experience what a mother's love was. Therefore, at this moment, if he suddenly had a father, a few uncles, and a grandfather, he couldn't accept it because he felt that it was unnecessary. He already had Father Kumu, his master, and Grandpa Village Chief. These people couldn't give him the feeling of home that he wanted. If he had a mother, he might have considered accepting it. In this matter, Mu Zhixing didn't do anything wrong. His only mistake was to choose to fall. Mu Tianhe regretted it after his son fell. He even gave in and allowed Mu Zhixing and Zhu Qiuqi to be together. But Zhu Qiuqi's unexpected death made everything worse. Now the Mu family was in danger, but Mu Yu didn't want to interfere. Why should he? He had nothing to do with this family since he was young. Even if fate brought him here by accident, why should he choose to help an unfamiliar family? Mu Yu sat on the ladder, his eyes blurred. This family that had abandoned him when he was young suddenly came looking for him. It was so dramatic that he was caught off guard. He felt something was missing in his heart. It was as if the bitterness and resentment that he hadn't felt for so many years suddenly surged in his heart, making him dumbfounded. Brother Feng Mu, I'm done counting. I'm coming for you. Mu Xen pushed open the door and ran happily towards Mu Yu, shouting happily, "I found Brother Feng Mu. Brother Feng Mu, you lost." "Yes, I lost." Mu Yu laughed self-deprecatingly. He had indeed lost at the hands of this so-called family. He rubbed Mu Xian's head and said, "Little X, let's go back. Your father might be looking for you." Okay. Mu Xian was very obedient, still skipping in front to lead the way. At night, a cool breeze blew, brushing the corner of the man's clothes on the roof. "Mu Yu, the Mu family situation is not optimistic. Do you want to help them?" Long Ting asked. "The Mu family situation is not optimistic? None of this has anything to do with me. I'm not ready to be a member of the Mu family." Mu Yu shook his head. He didn't want to directly admit his identity to the Mu family because there was nothing here for him to miss. "Little Marshal, Long Tongue, let's go." A gust of wind blew, and the figure on the roof disappeared from the Mu residence. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.